Hello, ladies and gentlemen, to whatever this is, which is a spoiler discussion, I guess, for Persona 5 Strikers. Game released, like, 4 days ago, technically 8 days ago. Thank you, Atlus. Yeah, but this game's really freaking good. I've got Michelle/Seniors here. Their channel's great. They used to post.
I've never heard of this game. What are we talking about?
Alright, well, this is how it's gonna start again. No, but,
We have one joke for opening videos.
I really do.
And that's it.
Yeah, but so, yeah, the game's finally out. I guess, backstory for anyone who is watching this in retrospect. This game... This game had, what was it, 4-day early digital deluxe, which... I don't know if it's... Yeah, you got that. I didn't. I somehow caught up to you because the non-stop grind.
2 nails a day.
Yeah.
I was doing about 1 a day, and you were doing 2.
I think I literally did 2 every single day for 4 days straight. Yeah, but so... Yeah, it came out 4 days early. And the day it came out was the 19th of February, which was... exactly 1 day before the year anniversary of the Japanese release date.
Yeah.
Which I find really funny, and it almost feels like Digital Deluxe was just an excuse to be like, no, it didn't take over a year, look! look, we got it by 1 day.
If you give us $10 extra, you can not have to wait a year.
Ah, boy. And you get some items that you're gonna use in 10 seconds.
Yep.
But yeah, so it finally did come out after 500 days of not being revealed in the West. And here we are.
Okay, here's the thing that I will say about this game, especially in regards to its localization, which is, was this game worth the wait? Yes. Should I have had to wait that long? Fuck no.
Yeah, it was a little weird, like... I hate to be the guy... No, I don't hate to be the guy to bring up 13 Sentinels again. If you haven't played 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, play it. It's also published by Atlus. Masterpiece. Alright, I'm going to show that here because I know everyone's going to watch this. And if this video flops, it'll be really funny.
Watch Oziach 13 Sentinels review. It didn't get many views.
It got 10,000. That's fine. For what this game is, that's fine. But regardless of that, that is a game that, you know, obviously COVID is a factor in, like, you know, localization and getting, like, dubs especially, like, out. But that was a game that came out basically, like, it wasn't right before Strikers, but it came out a little bit before, when it was Scramble, in Japan. And still, the quality of the dub, you should mute that.
Yeah.
The quality of the dub for 13 Sentinels, which the entire game is voice acted.
Yep.
It was done in a much shorter time and to a much higher quality with a lot more to it than Strikers, and still got out months prior.
Yeah.
Like half a year. It's ridiculous. But yeah, Strikers. If it had to take this long, sure, but I don't see it.
It didn't have to take this long, because I know, and, like, I also know, yeah, they were also doing Royal, but, like, you know, voice actors do multiple jobs at once. I mean, they basically have to make money.
Yeah.
So, like, because, like, yeah, because I was a few days ago, I think it was like right before Strikers came out. Cassandra Lee Morris, who's Morgana's voice actress, she was doing a live stream where she was like doing a live signing of a bunch of prints that I couldn't afford, even though I really wanted the Taiga one.
Yeah.
And she actually did say with Strikers that, like, yeah, she recorded that from home, like in her closet. So, like, you know, even if COVID was a factor, they had ways of getting the VAs to record from home.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I cannot think of a single good reason this game to get localized.
Agreed. But despite all that, this game is great. We knew it was going to be great, and I'm extremely happy with it. Just a forewarning for people who don't read, or have like extreme heavy dyslexia. So this is a spoiler discussion. The game did just come out when we're recording this, so yeah, if you don't want to be spoiled on the game, you don't want to hear anything about late game, whatever, turn away now, come back whenever you want later, or spoil yourself if you please, but I don't recommend it because this game's really neat and has a pretty good story.
That's me. The dyslexia comment was aimed at me. Anyway, yeah, this game's 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Straight up.
I was deliberating on that for a little beforehand, because the plot of this game does start out very... It has very good, consistent writing, but it definitely starts off like, yeah, just another everyday journey for the Phantom Thieves, and it's very low-key about it. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna go on our road trip, we're gonna solve these little problems that are going on, and whatever happens along the way, we just want to hang out as friends. And it's not until the 4th jail where things actually, like, happen, and it's like, oh, okay, we're actually getting into this now. Even if, I will say, even if the story was not as good as it is, I would still probably give it, at the very least, a 9, because this game plays like freaking butter, in the good way.
Yeah.
If you don't like butter, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, it plays like butter, until it starts playing like some chunky 4-day-old milk when you have to do stealth, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. But it's a friggin' great old time, so I don't know if there's anything you particularly wanted to start with talking about with it.
I mean, we could just like take this, I mean, one thing we could do is start gameplay and then just take the story in order after that.
I will say, that is probably the biggest thing with this, obviously, for people who, like, are kind of jumping into this game, because I play a lot of Musos, and I really like that genre, like Dynasty Warriors type games, whatever you want to call them. I believe this was your first.
This was my first ever Muso, yes.
Yeah, so I want to hear your experience with it first and foremost, since you have this experience.
Just jumping into it, I mean, because here's the thing. For me, because I cheated, and I got way back when, you know, I thought this game was going to come out in summer and not February, that the whenever the Japanese demo dropped, I got that on my Switch, I played it, and even though that was only a small taste of the gameplay, I was like, alright, this is gonna be my game of the year, please give it to me.
I want to note, that is the most boring, worst part of the game.
Yeah.
It is such a small slice of what you actually end up getting to do, which is just a praise to the rest of that game, because that demo plays so well.
Because, like, for me, like, the way it somehow meshes, even though, you know, it's a drastically different genre, the fact that it still feels like Persona 5 just so perfectly is just impressive. Like, because, yeah, like, the way you kind of, like, do your combos, and the way that a lot of combos can, if you do it right, lead directly into summoning your persona with the menu and then doing an attack. And it makes the dopamine hit. The way, just, I love how every character fights super different and are all really fun. I liked when Haru hit people with her axe.
Very good time.
I loved, like, the exploration for the most part of every palace or jail. Just, I don't know, fighting enemies was fun. It was just really fucking good. All the bosses were great.
Yeah, it was
a good game.
As someone who's played a lot more Musos, like, my expertise with it, I'm really into, like, Hyrule Warriors, especially Age of Calamity. Also a really freaking good Muso. Just a forewarning as well to show another game. If you liked the combat of this game, I still think the combat in this game is great, but Age of Calamity kind of stomps this one into the ground when it comes to how well it plays. But with that said, each game, like, each recent Muso has tied a lot more to the series that, like, they're trying to merge things into, and, like, the things they're spinning off from. And the way it does mesh up with Persona's mechanics are really good. I remember the developers, when they were kind of thinking of the mechanics of how to implement Personas in, and, you know, like, Persona is a turn-based RPG, they kind of got that mechanic of, okay, you're going to press a button and every enemy around you is going to freeze in place, and then you get to go down a menu of skills and choose what you're going to do. And they were like, this is a bad idea. Why are we going to try this? And then they actually implemented it, and they implemented it, and they were like, this plays great. And it does. The way, like, the menus work and how it uses that, like, JRPG influence, and the way you bounce between your party, similar to P5 with, like, baton passes and everything, and how it incentivizes the use of weaknesses to use all your party members is really dang good.
It's really freaking cool. I love, like... I mean, because, like, not only your party members, their SP doesn't last, like, super long, so and just, like, the way the game plays, you are very much incentivized to keep switching characters, which is really great. Yeah, like, I loved just how every character, like, fought. I liked, you know, getting my combinations of characters that I liked. I liked that, at least for me, I don't know about you, nobody felt bad.
No.
Like, if you had to pick someone who if you had to pick a worst party member, is there one?
I would have to say somewhere between, like, it might just be Makoto.
Yeah.
She was fine.
If I had to pick, like, Makoto.
Like, that's the weird thing. For, like, every single character, like, every character has a very unique mechanic to them that makes them all feel fresh to, like, go between and kind of, like, learn. Makoto's, it's not that it was bad. It felt like a less interesting equivalent to On's with the amplifying.
Yeah.
And, like, Makoto's best aspect is that she has the motorcycle that she can kind of rush around in, but that can only do so much. So, like, she's fine,
also, like,
but she was probably the worst.
And also Morgana does that.
Yeah, and his is a lot more fun because you can just switch on. But yeah, she's about the worst. Otherwise, like, I think I was saying this a little before we started recording, but, like, Ryuji plays really bad at the start. Like, it's not that he plays bad, but he, in my opinion, at the very start of the game, is a really crappy unit because his mechanic is super slow and not practical to use in an actual fight. But when you actually get all the master skills, he becomes kind of busted, which I appreciate. So late game, he kind of, like, carried, and that was neat. But yeah, everyone's freaking great.
I also appreciate that, unlike Persona 5, this game doesn't vomit revival beads at you, so Sophie and Mona were actually, like, integral to boss fights.
Yeah, like, I was buying as many of the revival items as I could whenever I was able, and I was still very much like, yeah, I'm gonna need to be a little careful here.
Yeah, because you just don't get many of them at all, and they don't really appear in Sophie's shop ever.
This kind of avoids the, I guess, JRPG thing, or just RPG thing in general, of I have a bunch of items, I'm never gonna use them, because the battles are much more active, but you can spam use items, so, you know, when you're getting pummeled around, it's like, alright, and time to use all 50 of my 20 plus HP heals.
Yeah, you get a lot of life stones.
You get a lot of life stones, and they do go away about the pace you're using them. So, yeah, it's good. It's a good balance.
It's very well done. If there's one slight issue I can have with the item balancing, why does this game not give you magic moves ever from skill cards?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Because, like, I tried and kind of succeeded at making Arsene good, but
I brought him along. It didn't do much. He helped in the final boss, but...
Because my strategy was basically, okay, I'm going to pump basically every Persona point and incense I get into Arsene.
Yeah, how'd that work out for you?
I mean, don't get me wrong, he was still pretty decent, especially, like, you know, getting, like, triple down, and I think I might have gotten, like, Bloodbath on him or something. Like, I got some decent, like, physical moves on him, but, like...
He's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate what they were clearly going for, which is, yes, Arsene doesn't stop learning moves, he just learns them slowly. So, like, you can use him, but it also heavily incentivizes switching personas while he's kind of, you know, lagging behind a bit.
I
But the issue with it is that Joker's personas level up really slowly.
yeah.
So, like, by the end of the game, because I fought the final boss at, like, level 60-something.
I was
and
a little around there, yeah.
And even after pumping all of my persona points into him, Arsene still barely hit 40.
No, yeah, Pandora, who you literally just get right before that boss, is basically just the saving grace for that fight, in my experience.
Yeah.
Pandora's sick. We'll get to more plot stuff in a sec. But yeah, speaking of gameplay, freaking showtimes.
Yeah, they're fun.
Really neat. Like, I don't know if, like, visually they kind of beat out the flair of, like, when I first saw, like, an all-out attack in P5. But I think they are a very cool thing to consistently watch, and they're all very creatively handled.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're obviously, you know, they're nowhere near Royals showtimes, because nothing's as good as a Royal showtime. But they are all very fun. I really liked how all of them worked. I love, like, just, like, the little detail, which is, like, you know, the screen kind of, like, it's transition screen. It, like, does, like, a thing where the screen becomes, like, all one color of whatever character you used it on. And then, like, that gets slashed away, like, in a unique animation for each character.
Yeah.
Like, Joker's kind of like a knife cut. On it looks like spotlights. Mona, it's like cat claws, etc.
It's very
really
well
cool.
handled. I did not get bored of seeing them throughout. In fact, like, one thing I kind of wish with the gameplay, kind of, like, compared to other Musos, I do wish each character got, like, a little, like, more to, like, their combos. Like, maybe even, like, one extra combo string or something would have been neat. But even despite that, I never got bored of the gameplay.
No, I didn't.
Like, even in some of the more, like, I guess, tedious moments, quote-unquote, like, I was still along for the ride 100%. Okay,
if there's one nitpick for me in terms of gameplay, a couple of the side quests are just tedious.
Yeah, some of the side quest objectives, and I think, like...
Specifically, any of, like, the get to this location without raising the security level and you can't walk, I was just like, this is so just annoying.
Yeah, and I think in my experience, like, most of the bosses were very manageable and very easy to, like, kind of deal with. You just had to, you know, actually be paying attention. For some reason, all of the Warden fights, like, they weren't hard. I just felt like they got padded out for a very long time in terms of health. Like, even worse than all of the bosses that they were, like, you know, there for, which, call it symbolic in that case, but I, like, you know, the first time I fought them, I was like, man, this is cool, but man, he's taking a bit. And then by the time I fought, like, the 6th one, I was like, okay, I get it. I got it.
Yeah, I also get they have to make the fight last long enough that you can hear all of the plot.
Yeah, but the final boss does that. And it works really well still, and that's a freaking long fight. And I get that, but I don't know. I don't know if that proved anything.
I don't know, I didn't mind the Warden fights. I enjoyed all of them.
They were good. It's just, like, if I had to say anything in this game was genuinely tedious, like, that's the closest. But yeah, so that's, like, I guess the combat out of the way. Then there's the other half of the gameplay, because, you know, it's Persona.
Yeah.
And...
the pseudo-social sim.
Yeah, I mean, it's Persona without the confidants, kinda. Without the social links. I don't know, I thought traveling around the city and just kind of buying whatever the crap you need, it's much less like Persona-esque where they're in tandem, and it's more kind of like a backing to support you for the battles.
I do appreciate that one of the game's tutorials straight up tells you, buy everything you see. Do not save your money.
Oh yeah, they're like, yeah, if you go to a new city, buy everything. It's important. Which it does feel like, oh yeah, you're gonna miss out on some stuff for cooking materials, which kind of is the case, but at that point the money does not make a difference. It's more so, we're getting you ready for the fact that you need to know you're gonna need all these healing items.
Yeah, you're gonna need all this SP shit. And also, I mean, I also appreciate it from, like, a theming perspective, because as I was running around a new city, I felt like a fucking tourist, and it was perfect.
I felt like a little kid just being like, ooh, another ramen place, let's go, Ryuji.
I do love that. That's like a gag in the game that you had your fucking ramen tour with Riki.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
so happy for him.
Again, we'll get more into it. But man, the writing in this game is so funny. Like I adore the funny moments in like P5, P4, P3, whatever. Like, but this is probably the funniest Persona game, like by a mile. It is very consistently like entertaining. The way they balance all the Phantom Thieves is really well handled. I adore that aspect of the writing.
I also really like the way that you were able to like just talking to every party member was also incentivized because a lot of times they give you items you could miss.
Yeah.
And also they just had good dialogue. It was fun just like seeing what they had to say about each location.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. Freaking yeah, the Velvet Room. There are so many quality of life things here that Atlus, please put them in like your main RPGs, please.
Yeah. Please.
Like Koei Tecmo understands the Velvet Room. They got it.
So yeah, like, because the Velvet Room, it's partly simplified because there's no social links, so you know you don't get like Arcana boost, and you don't. There's also the compendium's really small compared to other Persona games. There's only a few of them, and like just playing the game normally, barely doing any fusion, I had I think 70% completion.
Yeah.
And you know there's a few other things like that aren't quite there, which is fine because you know that's not the big focus of the game. Honestly, what is here is kind of impressive for what is just a Muso, but yeah, just like the quality of life changes. Like you don't need the Persona in your inventory. You can just like if something that you need to fuse is available in the compendium, you can just click on it, pay the money right there without putting it in your inventory, and then just fuse it instantly.
Yeah.
Any Personas, whenever you're about to fuse, Lavenza will warn you and be like, hey, these Personas don't match the ones you have registered. Do you want to register them? And you can say yeah.
It's just small things that are
nice.
really helpful over time.
It's just really nice, and it will make, you know, like if Royal had that, I would have completed the compendium.
Oh yeah. I mean, I actually did, I think.
No, you didn't. Your brother did.
Alright, listen, that's besides the point. Man, that thing is massive. Yeah, but so, actually, one thing I do find funny is, spoilers, when you get Zenkichi to actually, like, become a Phantom Thief, you go to Lavenza, which I really like Lavenza in this game. She's, like, she doesn't do a ton, she just kind of is there to be the Velvet Room person, but regardless, you go to Lavenza and she's like, so he is the Apostle Arcana. I'm like, cool. Does that mean anything for this game?
No.
Like the Arcanas have no like role here, but it's good to know. Cool.
I do find it really funny because yeah, like in Royal for the Counselor and the Faith, they actually did like add a bunch of personas for that Arcana. Zenkichi is the only Apostle persona. It's the only one in existence.
Man, Valjean really is carrying right now.
What was Sophie's Arcana? I forget.
I don't know if the game specifically said. I
mean, I'd assume
want me to
once
look it up on the Wikipedia?
I mean, yeah, like I assume maybe like her at first she doesn't have one, but I have to assume once she gets an Arcana at least.
Mm-hmm.
The Lover 2.
It's just called Heart.
It's just called Robot. No, yeah, I like that better.
Okay,
it's
that makes
ASCII heart.
That makes sense. Okay, I pulled it up on the wiki. I don't know where it says this specifically, if at all.
It would be in the Arcana's listed on the stats menu, like it is in P5.
So hers is actually listed as Hope.
Ah,
which works. That fits.
That's neat.
I
like it. I kind of wish they actually designed Arcana cards for those. Still would have liked to have seen those.
Please. That also reminds me, like, when I actually did kind of sit there and think about the fact of there are like the all-out attack, like the original all-out attack renders that they have. I think it's on like the master skills page or whatever.
It's just on the stats screen. Yeah,
okay, yeah. P5. Because like obviously you don't get those in this, but actually seeing the one for like Sophie and Zenkichi I really liked, and I really love like the color style of it. Big happy.
I remember when I saw the quote-unquote all-out attack pack, I didn't realize that was just the pack that just gave you a bunch of items and nothing else.
Yeah.
I thought it was actually going to like let you use the original P5 all-out attacks, and that they were going to make one for Sophie and Zenkichi, and I got slightly sad when that wasn't the case.
I mean, fun fact, as far as I'm aware, friggin' that DLC is only a thing in the West. I could be wrong. I don't believe it's a thing in Japan. So, I guess interpret that as you wish.
Yeah, but Japan, you got those Monobus skins in Royal we didn't get.
Man,
but we got a bunch of
Monobus. That okay. I don't want to go on tangent too much. I still want to know. I want to know. That is still the image. That is still on the image for the DLC for Royal, the red Monobus, and it's just not a thing you can use.
I'm still really mad there's not a Monobus skin that turns into the blue van.
Man.
That should have been New Game Plus reward. I'm still mad about that.
Should have been something. Anyway, this is Royal. Still a freaking great game. Literally my favorite game.
Let's talk about my second favorite
Strikers.
game.
Yeah. But yeah, I believe that covers all the kind of basic gameplay quirks.
I mean, like, there's the way, like, the jail kind of gameplay loop, which is, like, you know, which only applies to half the jails.
I'm planning to make like a jail ranking, so that'll be neat. I'll go more into depth about the gameplay. That you better stop sassing me. No, but the jails and how you go through them, I wouldn't say I like them quite as much as Royal's palaces.
No,
but I think they work for what this is. I do like the open-ended feel of them. The kind of like, it's not a linear line for a lot of them. It leads you through it like that, but it still makes it feel like these are big open areas that you can kind of like go in whatever direction you please, and revisiting them, depending on what your reason, can be very fun.
I'd say,
which is another thing as well. Yeah.
One major thing, and I understand 100% why with the type of game this is. I do not think there is not a single jail in this game that I think looks as good as any palace in Royal. Because every Royal palace is absolutely gorgeous. Like, the most lacking one is Futaba's, and even then, I still really like how that palace looks. Nothing, like, quite matches that, and I understand why. Not only because of, like, the theming of this game, but also from a more technical perspective. Making these big open areas, you know, it was definitely easier for them to basically just reuse a lot of assets from the city overworld they already made that you explore. And, like, using that and just kind of building upon it and metaversifying that. Because that is the way that most of the jails work.
Yeah.
And I get why they did it the way they did.
Despite that, this game is still gorgeous.
Yeah, all the jails are still really cool.
I will say on the note of, like, reusing models and stuff, that did remind me of something that I immediately pointed out to you when I got there. So later on, when Zenkichi, you know, like, quote-unquote betrays the police, and he gets put into an interrogation situation like Joe Kerr, they call up Prosecutor Sainijima to bust him out, and I guess that they couldn't, like, I don't think these are the exact same models from regular P5. I think they're a little changed up. And I guess they wanted to, you know, mesh the aesthetic, but didn't want to, you know, for, like, one scene, make a new Psy model. So you get, like, the most hilarious first-person POV shot of Sainijima slowly stepping up to Zenkichi in the interrogation hall as he's, like, pissing himself. Just like, hey, you know me?
No, yeah, it's kind of funny. Don't get me wrong. Seeing Psy again come in like that was
very
genuinely
good.
Badass.
It was such a good moment. But it's so funny.
Because I didn't expect them to actually, like... I don't know, because, like, earlier in the game, Makoto calls Psy, and you don't really get to see that. So my guess... I thought it was just going to kind of do the same thing where you just heard that she showed up.
Yeah.
But actually, like, hearing her voice and seeing her sprite again made me happy. But also, it was really that hard to make a Psy model. I assume these models are just edited versions of the ones that already exist just to, like, fit them into Striker's style. It can't be that hard.
I can't judge too hard on that front, but man, regardless, if this is what they had to do, despite that, oh my gosh, it's so funny. Great moment though. I genuinely do love that scene. Zenkichi is a great character, so is Sai. Man, this cast.
Yep. On top, I guess like because once we go to the story, we're gonna go off.
Yeah.
So if there's one other miscellaneous point we can talk about before that, soundtrack.
Ooh. Okay. Before we go off on that tangent, one very quick thing I want to mention. Speaking of sound, my one genuine consistent critique
the audio
of this
mixing.
game. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think this is the case where you could blame COVID, but again, 13 Sentinels did it fine, so I don't get it.
I don't know. Oh, and also, how having COVID doesn't make headphones not work, so you can't test volume mixing.
Okay, that's the thing, and it got better later in the game from what I could tell. I don't know if you'd agree on that, but especially especially the start of the game, Makoto was
so
fine.
Fucking quiet.
But the thing, Makoto was fine. Morgana was usually fine, and then you get to Ryuji, where it's and that was every Ryuji dialogue at the start of the game.
And Yusuke's really quiet. Don't get me wrong. I think in the right moment, letting music overpower the character's voice a little bit can sell the power of a moment. Especially any of the boss cutscenes where the boss starts to transform and you have blooming villains start. Yeah. That's a moment where that works really well because of just how powerful blooming villain is and how much it adds to the feel. But man, good luck hearing any of the story that's happening during a boss fight.
I was about to say during the Demiurge fight, I was constantly looking up at the top right because I'm man, this dialogue is really good and is really setting the tone. But man, all I hear is just so humanity is in his fur. Yes.
Man, Futaba was navigating for 3 people. She couldn't give the best audio quality.
No, the only dialogue in that fight that you can actually hear is just once you're down.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. It's it's not the worst thing since the whole game is subtitled.
Yeah.
But during boss fights, especially where you kind of have to focus on not the subtitles,
and there are really good interactions between the Phantom Thieves and these bosses they're fighting, where they have really strong connections to a lot of these characters' arcs. You kind of have to go out of your way mid battle to be what's this sound? What's that? What'd you say on?
I gotta just hold down the Persona summon button and let them talk for a second.
Yeah, I mean, legit, that's just how you hear the boss music. Sometimes it's all right, let me just take a moment. Yeah.
There was also because it didn't bug me too much because I have this weird innate talent to hone in on a sound. If there's conflicting audio happening at once, I can just hone in on audio and just kind of zone everything else out, even if the other audio is louder. I think that's a talent I gained because weird mini tangent. Growing up as a kid, I loved Futurama, and my dad also loved watching Futurama. But my dad loved watching my dad watched the episodes typically with audio commentary because we had the DVDs. He watched it with audio commentary more often than just watching the episode,
which is based.
And he had the subtitles on. So basically, I just kind of got used to, and the episode itself is really low in the background behind what the people are saying over it, the directors and shit. So I just kind of got good at just reading the subtitles and attaching that to the really low episode audio and just watching an episode like that.
Anime
so I think that's where that comes from. Shut up. Maybe that's why I'm good at subtitles.
Anyways, going back on that tangent, the soundtrack is friggin' insane.
Oh, so yeah, one tiny thing they could have done to fix the audio mixing problem that would have been nice is just an audio slider that lets you change the sound of music, sound effects, and voice acting. That's all you had to do.
Oh, that's not in the game, is it?
No. If it was, I would have turned down the music at some point.
Hey Atlus, if you're listening to me, I know you don't speak English sometimes. And I don't think Atlus West will add this just to their version. Add audio sliders, please. Thank you.
I do wonder if this is just an issue with the dub, or if the Japanese version has this problem.
I haven't heard anything like that for the Japanese version, so I kind of assume it's just the dub.
I don't know, maybe the Steam port has it because PC games tend to have more options, but even then, I don't know.
Well, then again, from what I've heard, the Steam port has its own issues that I'm
The main
not
issue
even
with
gonna touch.
The main issue with the Steam port that was similar to Golden was just that the anime cutscenes for some reason lag.
Yeah, I also heard it crashes a lot and that the frame rate has, like, a lot of issues.
I haven't heard that specifically, but
I've heard that one a lot.
Mm.
So yeah, from everything I've heard though, the Switch and PS4 versions are fine. It's basically just that port.
Yeah,
Soundtrack.
I mean, yep. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about this. Ooh.
I don't know if it's my favorite Persona soundtrack.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention. Is this better than Royal soundtrack?
It is
in general.
So close.
Yeah.
It is. The songs that hit in this game are some of my favorites. Royal sticks with me a little more. Obviously, I've had more time with it, and it's a game you're in a lot longer. But this soundtrack is so good. Like, it gives you a small handful of battle themes that you listen through. And they're all bops. And I never got tired of any of them. Like, freaking love all of them.
learning the fact, the thing that blew my mind was the day that I learned that Soji Meguro didn't do it.
No, there's I forget the name of the composer, which I kind of feel bad about, because he is specifically known for being, like, the guy at Atlus who does the Persona music that isn't Shoji Meguro, but a lot of the stuff a lot of the stuff he does do is really good, and he's a fantastic composer.
Yeah.
And this game is probably the most evident example of that.
It's so good with the way the music's done. I will say, even if I'm kind of torn on whether or not I like Royal, I think I still like Royal a little bit more than Strikers, just because it's my style, and also Royal has I Believe.
Yeah.
I will say, easily Lynn gives her best performance.
Oh, 100%! Like, you know, Last Surprise, classic battle theme, I adore that song. You can tell the direct shift between her doing Last Surprise, which was, like, you know, one of the first she had to do for the series, and then Last Surprise Scramble Edition, where she goes completely all out. Her English is better, her, like, singing capabilities are better, the instrumental behind her is better. It is ridiculous.
It's really good. Like, I remember the first time I ever heard Last Surprise. Like, you know, you get the guitar the guitar starts with, like, the really nice, like, kind of slower version of that build-up of Last Surprise. And then you have, like, Lynn start, like, singing over it a bit with, like, the hey! I heard that, and I was like, alright, I'm gonna come. So...
You and me both.
It's so good. Like, Lynn's performance, like, okay, I Believe is my favorite song, period. But if I, like, best Lynn performance for me, without a doubt,
Is what?
Daredevil.
Daredevil's really good. I freaking love Daredevil. That's the thing, like, again, we now have retrospect for people who are now getting into the series past this game being out. And, you know, this game took 500 days between being announced in Japan to when it was announced in the West, and literally a year between the Japanese release, and even longer since the demo. When that demo came out, and then when the official release came out, those songs were holding me over that entire time. That was the thing that helped me cope. Like,
I have been listening, because, like, I didn't listen to the entire soundtrack. I was mostly listening to, I think I heard every vocal song except for the credits.
The most spoilery song I heard in view as well was Counter-Strike.
Yeah, same.
Bop.
No, yeah, it's all so good. Yeah, Lynn's performance fucking slays in this game. As for, like, some of the, like, not Lynn songs and not, like, remixes, Every city theme I was jamming to.
I will say the first city theme that wasn't Shibuya, because, you know, like, how, was it Tokyo Daylight? It was one of those.
It switched at one point. Like, it starts with Tokyo Daylight, or no, it starts with Tokyo Emergency, but then, like, once you get to, like, where you're going to start sending the calling card or something, then it switches to Tokyo Daylight, just for, like, so the fans get both songs, which I really like.
And that was fine. The first city after, which I think was Sendai.
Yep.
I thought it was good, and I thought it was interesting, but it didn't hook me as much. And each city progressively became better and better with its music, and I was like, okay, I'm in it. Because once you get to, what's the last one? Osaka? No.
Oh, Osaka, yeah.
Osaka's city theme is freaking fantastic. I adore that. They just each feel like they're getting more, like, obviously fitting with the, like, aesthetic, but they almost feel like they're getting more celebratory over time, and you really get into the mood of it because you're on your big tour with your friends. It's a grand old time. You're all happy. I love it.
I don't know. I was jamming and humming every single one. They're all so good. One thing that I noticed, I don't know if you think this. So, okay, the like overarching jail theme, I think it's called Welcome to the Jail.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, the song that plays in most jails when you're just, like, in, like, the first hub area. That song is so good.
Okay.
And I love, like, the progressed, like, version of it once you get to Kanoe's.
I was about to say, that was one thing I really wanted to mention, is that song, I didn't get tired of it at all.
No.
Every single time I was like, okay, this is sick, we're in this, I love this. And honestly, like, in the first jail with Alice's, I do like Alice's jail theme, but when I realized that wasn't the jail theme, I was like, okay. And once you get to Kanoe's, where you're like, okay, this area is a little bigger, so I'm gonna be hearing this a little more as I'm going through this first section. And then you realize it continues, and you're like, oh, this is the first half of the jail's theme. It's just a, like, revision of the, like, of Welcome to the Jail. And it hit real different.
Oh, it's so good. And then it stopped playing.
I do like the other jail theme, like the other jail theme for his a lot.
It is good.
Not the same, but I really like it.
For me, because, like, with me and some of the jail themes, I don't know if you think this, they were the least Persona feeling songs in the game.
Yeah, they were, weirdly enough, like, I liked them, but they had, oddly enough, the least impression on me until, I would say, Kanoe's going forward. Because I think his and...
Well, yeah, the last two are... Ooh.
Actually, I'll also include the Okinawa jail in there as well. Because I friggin'... For how short that one is, that was the one thing that the moment I stepped in, I was like, I love this.
Yeah, same. It took me like a couple revisits for it to grow on me, but the Shibuya jail theme did get stuck in my head. I don't know what it is about that song.
Man, you really just like Circus Girl.
Yeah, but if you asked me to hum the theme of the Sapporo or Sendai jail, I couldn't.
I don't know, something wind chimes for Sapporo. It is good. I do like the song. I never got bored of them, but I was like, okay, it's fine. But man, the soundtrack.
All the music. There's not a bad song though. They're all really good. I love, like, just like the camper van theme and, like, the on the road theme.
Oh my gosh, Sophia's Shop.
Oh, Sophia's Shop's theme. Yep.
Okay, because the big golden child for shop themes in Persona is definitely, like, a wise shop, like the weapons, whatever. And I don't know if I prefer that one to this. That one has a much better opening, and I feel like a lot of people still prefer it. I don't know. Sophia's is on par with me. I just love the jam of it.
I also love the look of Sophia's jail. She's baby.
Her shop, you mean?
Oh yeah, her shop.
Did I miss something in the plot there?
No, the feel of Sophia's shop. I love the look of it. It's real, like, it has, like, kind of the app feel, but, like, it actually, like, you know, looks nice on, like, most apps. And it she's baby. She fucking comes balling in when you pick the shop.
She does. She spins in like Sonic and then just shoves the shopping cart over and over, which
I love the shopping cart animation. She's baby.
Not a real complaint per se, but one thing.
It's a slower shop than all the other ones.
Well, but I was gonna say as well, like. I was playing this where other people were near me, and I looked like a madman every time I was buying things in that shop. Yeah. So Atlus, but you don't have to play the audio clips every single time.
No, you do. It's important. She wants to know what you're buying.
It's really funny, but it's just, what you think? I'm like, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
Saying thank you. Why are you
fine with it. But I look like an insane person whenever I do this. I'll have my mom walking past and she just kind of looks at me. I'm like, I'm buying medical supplies.
Adam, why are you mean? Okay, she's making a living. She's paying for college. Why are you mean to her?
You gotta reimburse her for that bar of gold. Yeah, can we mention now? I think it's a good time. We talked about the soundtrack a good bit. Before we even get into the plot specifically, and we could talk about more instances. Again, this is the funniest Persona game by a mile.
Yeah,
it is so freaking funny.
And I will admit, because of part of the reason it's the funny is it's very character driven. So part of the reason it's so funny is because you're back with the crew. And just like getting like just this feel again of like I'm home. As soon as I stepped foot in Shibuya, I was like,
home. That's one thing, because like it didn't fully set in for me until I saw Sojiro. That one I was like, man, this is a Persona 5 sequel. We're actually back, and it made me nearly cry. But yeah, it's really good, and then you get in there and you just won't stop laughing because
Ryuji is just the best character ever.
One big thing that the few times we did talk about the game while we were playing through it, for me, this is a game with 10 main cast members who, in the majority of the game, are all in the same room. They're very rarely grouped off, and it never felt cluttered or like anyone was like doing nothing.
No, yeah, and I will say, maybe if you didn't play P5 for some reason, then you might have that feel, but
they give enough of an introduction once Sophia joins you.
I will also say, I don't know, I'll ask your opinion. When like the director of this game and like the people at Atlus were saying like, yeah, you could play this without playing P5, that's a lie.
Okay.
That is bullshit.
I was talking to my brother about this when he had asked me. I believe you could. I 100% believe you could play this without playing Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal and follow what's going on. However,
you could also play Ultra Despair Girls first and follow what's going on.
However, you shouldn't.
No.
You 100% shouldn't. Play P5 Royal. Don't play original P5. It's still a great game. I love that game.
I don't care if you got it for free on the PS Plus PS5 thing. I don't care. Don't play it.
Just let that be your sampler test so you can get the better game.
Royal goes on sale for like $5. Doesn't matter.
Oh my... Yeah. Yeah, this freaking game. Yeah, this cast is great. I forget what I was just saying. Oh yeah, no, yeah. So
comedy.
No. Yeah, okay. You could play this game without playing P5, but don't. You will be much more satisfied, and like you could be like, oh yeah, it'll be the thing to get you into P5, and that is valid if you do want to do that. But it's not a reboot. It's not really trying to invite you like that per se. It leaves things open-ended enough so you're not really spoiled on P5 a ton.
But also it spoils enough
that,
because like it spoils, like, I mean, Lavenza existing spoils the twins twist.
And, Demiurge, they're basically, like, Lavenza's just like, oh, it's happening again!
No, yeah, they even say, that's like one of my favorite lines late in the game, is just them being like, how the real world's fused with Mementos again, and Zenkichi's being like, yeah, wait, what, this happened before?
I missed something? Alright, everyone forgot!
No, yeah, like they spoil like the god twist. They spoil basically who every villain is. Like there's a decent few
Okay,
spoilers
but
in this.
but did this god have more setup than Igor?
I'd say they're about equal, honestly.
They are. It's a tangent. That's a rant for another day. But this cast really freaking good. I love everyone in this cast. What we were referencing, which is like the first proper dubbed scene I think I saw in the game, which was the gold bar scene. Where,
yeah, 'cause I put it on Twitter and showed it to you.
You know, despite the audio mixing, the dubbing of this game is fantastic. And
Oh yeah, it's the Persona 5 cast. They got them all back, and they're all godlike.
they've definitely like loosened up in their roles a little more this time, especially with like Xanth and like Xanth, Max Middleman, and Matt Mercer, yeah, for Yusuke. Like they definitely show a little bit of the like wackier side to their character, and I like that.
I don't know who it was. I don't know who the director was, but they clearly go off, and I appreciate it.
It's extremely good. Okay, so
it's a really good game. Please buy it.
I can't believe how long we've been talking. I think it is a good time to actually just properly talk about the story.
How long is the recording going?
We're at like 45 minutes or so, 50.
Yeah, that's an Adam and Michelle discussion video.
It really is. Alright, so this game starts and it makes me cry. We got the gang back together.
Oh man, it was a very just we're getting the band back together moment, and I felt so happy.
Yeah, I also want to note, I don't want to do like the kind of like beat by beat thing of like, yeah, we're just going to go through the plot. But I will say, like, you know, kind of with like the patterns of the writing, because this game does start off, again, very casually, and it's like, okay, yeah, there's a big incident going on here, but, you know, it's just the fantasies are back together, time to tackle another palace, except it's not a palace, it's the jail. They really want to tell you, they want to make sure you know, jails are not palaces. This is their original creation, their original OC, and they want to make it known. Koei Tecmo is very proud. But so, each one of them has that kind of like, I guess, similar structure in the first three, where it's, you meet someone, they have a direct tie to a character and their like motivations or who they are, and you go through their jail, figure out what their trauma is, and you get a big emotional boost. And despite kind of like, I guess, the repetition of it, it is really good and does get you to hit. Like,
it is extremely well written because, well, first of all, I'm very happy that the first arc of this game is On's. Because of me. And On's arc in this beginning is really good, and I also really appreciate building upon a part of On's character that I guess people just don't pay attention to because it always gets shit.
Because it's On.
Yeah, which is, it heavily focuses in on specifically her drive and her modeling thing.
Yeah, like why she wants to be a model. And it's to, you know, like, give people that light that she didn't have because she was, like, bullied and isolated. And it fits in perfectly. And I do like how a lot of these do, you know, parallel those thieves, where it's, like, On, Yusuke, and Haru, which is... That's an interesting gang of, like, these three are going to get their specific arcs.
And then we're going to lump the other ones together.
Yeah.
At one point.
But like, it does work really well. Yeah,
I mean... Also, I guess something else to mention. All the villains in this game are great. There's not like there's not like some that are kind of lacking like in P5. Every villain in this game is
like
fun.
No villain in this game I would say peaks as high as like Kamoshida or the third semester villain in Royal.
Or Shido even.
Yeah, I like Shido, but I know people are gonna fight me on that one.
Yep.
And Yaudabaoth. I like a lot of the P5 villains, but like all of them are about on, like, all the ones in this game I would say are on par with like Madarame or like Shido or something like that. And they have a lot of like really well handled depth there.
But also I think what makes this game's plot also work and not feel too derivative of P5 is the fact that, unlike in Persona 5, every villain in this game, apart from like the real final boss at the end, all of them to some extent are redeemable people.
There is not a one-dimensional villain in this game, and it is
No.
very even Emma, which is really funny. But like this game makes a very conscious effort to.
Okay, there is one-dimensional villain, but he doesn't have a jail, so it's fine. It's just a Wada. But
okay, you're right. He got arrested, so I don't care. But yeah, all of the jail owners, it kind of goes with that, like the aesthetic of the jail, which I really like. Which this game does critique and kind of like better explain a lot of the ideas in P5 and a lot of the philosophies of Phantom Thieves, which I really love. And
this game especially goes off on like the morality of the big difference between a change of heart and a seizing of a desire.
Yeah, that's the thing with me where it's like, in P5, the aesthetic is very much, you know, you're going in, you're gonna steal the thing that's precious to, like, whatever ruler who's, like, tormenting people. You're literally, like, you know, gentleman thieves. You're the Robin Hoods of the situation.
Yeah,
you're trying
and
to
it's
help the little guy.
Yeah, you're the Robin Hood, and it's a fight against corruption, because apart from, like, Futaba Sai and the true final boss of Royal, all of them, every other villain is just a bad person. So you don't really feel, you know, you don't have to feel, the most redeemable one other than that is, like, Madarame, and even then he's still, like, a horrible person. It's just that, you know, you also realize that deep down he did somewhat care about Yusuke.
Yeah.
And that's about it. But, like, you know, there's no redeemability to Kamoshida, Kaneshiro, Shido. All these names sound the same.
I don't...
Okumura.
With this game, when I kind of thought about it, I did audibly cheer when I realized why they're jails and why, like, the aesthetic is like that, is because this is very much a prison break where you are trying to rescue these people out of their arrested development and actually get them into, like...
I like that show.
This is a good show. No, you're definitely, like, trying to get them into this place where it's like, you can be better, and they have been in places where, you know, they weren't one-dimensional terrible people. It's just actually holding true to the hope that they could have had and finding a better place in life. Like, the themes of, you know, always being able to, like, pick yourself up from the ground is really good in this game, and I love it.
Yeah. It is, because that's the thing. The Phantom Thieves have always been, they are all a group of outcast underdogs. Like, even, you know, Haru and Makoto, who are well off, are still the underdogs of their story. Because, you know, both of them are being pushed down and, you know, kind of, because, you know, Makoto's being forced onto her path of just being a good girl, and Haru's being, you know, just married off. So, like, they are all still, you know, the underdogs of their respective stories. And the way it kind of plays on that of, like, yeah, every character at some point in P5 hit rock bottom, but because of their friends, were able to pull themselves back up, which is also what makes the first three jails really impactful, because it is one of the Phantom Thieves extending their hand in, like, a genuine show of friendship to get this person back up.
It is extremely good in that sense. Like, my favorite of those first three, because, like, there was a very clear divide in the first three jails and the last, like, 5 or whatever. So, like, that kind of theme, like, within those first 3, I would say Haru's is 100% the best. Because it takes that idea, but it's someone who... Again, whoever wrote this game loved Haru, and I
there's somewhere at Koei Tecmo there is a massive Haru fan, and I want to shake that person's hand,
absolutely.
Whoever they are.
But so it is someone that Haru, like, you know, had in their life, who they saw as, like, this really perfect, like, helpful person who helped give them strength in the past, and now they're at their own low point where, due to their own guilt, they're sitting there basically feeling sorry for themselves and trying to, like, cover up what they're doing. And giving Haru that opportunity to kind of step up, show her maturity, and reach that hand out back to the person who they loved as a kid. Even seeing, like, how, again, because they're not one-dimensional terrible people, like Mari would still be nice to the fan of thieves genuinely, like not trying to hide anything. And even when being frustrated with them, wouldn't
nice
lash
to everyone
out.
except for staff.
She wouldn't lash out to them like at all. And finally reaching that point where Haru was like, okay, but what you're doing is still wrong, and there are better ways to handle this, is such a good emotional moment. And Haru did finally get the arc that she really deserved.
This, yeah. I mean, I put it out on Twitter, and for some reason the tweet got like 1,500 likes. If you wanted Haru to get more screen time, please.
Oh my gosh.
Play this game. Freaking... Yeah, I loved Haru's arc. Her villain, I can't remember her last name, so I just call her Mari-san.
Yeah.
Is such a good villain. And it's just so interesting.
I would say her sprite.
Her sprite? That. Yeah. Her shadow sprite looks fan-made. That's the issue. It looks so bad.
Again, it's like the only Persona sprite that takes a page out of Danganronpa and just has them facing the screen directly. And it does not... It's not awful, but it doesn't fit.
Even Zenkichi's turned like 5 degrees. Yeah, then there's like Alice, who's like, the first one, which I adore Alice.
Her design's really good. Her voice actor is really good. Like,
yeah,
that was something that...
Her voice actress is incredible.
When it said
both like
such a good
range.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good range between like her shadow and her actual the connection she has to An is really interesting. I like An.
Natsume was fine.
Well, real quick on the note of Alice, I have to bring this because it's me and you might know this.
I swear, if you even bring up freaking...
So the bit in the hallway.
Okay.
Look, it is really it is like it sells kind of like
help him, he can't stand anymore.
It's selling how like much of a monster she's becoming, but also her just stepping on this dude in the middle of the public hallway is really fucking funny.
Listen, like when you get the full descriptor of it, you're like, I get why he's genuinely intimidated by her, because he knows what she can do, but it is really funny. He just topples over and she's just like, eh! And just steps on him. I'm like, okay, listen, I'm not one who wants this, but trust me, 90% of the rest of Persona fans definitely. I'm turning off the recording. I'm gonna. It was a scene, though. Also, that was the hallway. I want to note that.
Yeah, I was going to say, what an iconic hallway. Not only is it the scene, but also this now.
You see that, it's like, oh man, everything awful happens here, doesn't it?
I met Goro Akechi here. You can't go much worse than that.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I love Alice. Her final, arc is really good.
Alice, you can flatten me into a pancake.
I agree. I like the part at the beginning of the game where she smacked Joker with her cane. That I felt that I wanted it.
I will say I do really like the boss fights in this game. They're very they have very simple, constant formulas to how they work. Where you kind of got these stuff around the arena you can interact with, and you're just kind of beating them down with whatever mechanic. But they were really good. I really enjoyed all of them.
Yeah.
Especially the Demiurge. Demiurge is absolutely best fight in the game. Sick. Well, okay. There's a contender as well, but
I love the I don't know, the Alice fight was really fun. The Alice fight kicked my ass, so I was still getting used to it. But other than that, I love Alice. And then there's Natsume, who I also still adore.
He's a pretty good villain. Me being a writer, by the end, I definitely felt it. But
yeah.
I would still say
me about it.
I would still say he's the worst villain in the game, but that does not translate to bad at all.
I really liked Natsume.
It is very much a very well handled kind of look at how that kind of abuse and people taking adults taking advantage of you, or anyone taking advantage of you, kind of putting you down, not having that belief in you. When, as Yusuke puts it, you do have that, story in your heart, or whatever artistic piece you want to put out, and basically just getting shafted for it. That is a really interesting way to follow up on Yusuke's arc and the stuff with that.
Yeah, and like the things Yusuke specifically says, which is the life of a creative is a lonely one.
That line is so good.
You know, like most creative endeavors are a very lonely endeavor. So like it is, I loved it. Like it is, because Yusuke's a personal favorite of mine, always has been, and just I loved the way his arc was done so much.
I will say, I might have said this before already, and if I did, like this video. But this game's writing, again, I don't think it peaks as high as, like, Persona 5, especially Persona 5 Royal, but it is very consistent. There is not a low point in the writing here.
Yeah.
Like, Natsume's arc, I would call the low point, and that's saying something, because that is still a very good arc.
It still hit. Also, little, like, minor symbolic thing I liked, which it's a pretty obvious symbolism, still one I appreciated, which was
the demon
every
armor?
character.
Oh no.
Well, not that, but that is funny. I was just gonna say it's an overarching thing, which is every monarch has their crown that they take off at the end.
Yeah.
I like the way they're all done, like, because each of them are like kind of different. You know, like some of them are actual crowns, but I love that. Yeah, Natsume was like the horns that he ripped off.
Rips them off. Yeah, it's really good.
Also, a really stupid twist I loved with him, which was the fact that he just had this cardboard cutout that he was standing behind.
That's the thing, like,
which also explains why. Because like once you notice that, you're kind of like, oh yeah, he wasn't moving, was he?
Yeah, that's the thing. When you actually go back and look at the scene, you're like, oh, he's just standing still. And I don't know if it legitimately is or isn't a model. I'm pretty sure it is, and they just kind of swap it. But
yeah,
yeah, but it is still a very funny way to kind of show that. But he's still turned into a dragon anyways, I guess. So.
The dragon is great. I like the dragon.
Anyways, write a better book next time. Friggin' nerd. Why you suck at writing, dork? Just be good.
Ooh, actually, especially while on the topic of the first 3 jails, I do want to mention trauma cells.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh! Trauma cells are such a good, like, way to tackle the depth of a lot of these characters. And again, it's not like this game isn't meant to be like forgive abusers. I've seen some people take that, especially with Alice. I'm like, that's not what it's trying to say. But
no, because it is still very clear. The thieves still want them to atone for what they did, but they also want them to grow as people.
Yeah, every single time they do clarify, like, no, this does not excuse your actions. That's why you need that's why you need to actually step up and change what you're doing. It doesn't excuse but it explains it.
Yeah, it's why they need a change of heart.
But on that note, it still gets you to sympathize with the core of their upbringing that got them to that point. And, like, again, it's not saying, yeah, this justifies it, but it does show the crappy situations that led them to make those decisions coming up. The one that, like, each one progressively got worse. Like, Alice's hit, it was a little on the nose, but it still hit and was really, like, demented. You get to Natsume's and you're like, man, that sucks. This is, like, you can see how that would shatter a kid. And then you get to Mari's, which almost made me freaking cry.
Because I was going to say as well, something I love about the way all those scenes are framed, it is very reminiscent to me of the memory tapes from Infinity Train. Watch Infinity Train.
Watch Infinity Train.
For a 4th season. Watch Infinity Train. There's a discussion about it on my channel with Adam. It's funny. It reminds me of that kind of where it plays up the trauma with the way it builds upon it. Because one, I liked the fact that like it was almost meant to be viewed from the person's point of view, since you can't see them in the trauma cell. You can only hear their voice, and as well as like it very much like the what I mean by like it kind of builds upon the trauma is like with like Alice's in particular. You have the Shujin classroom, which, side note, one of the funniest lines in the game. Alice is your senpai. She went to Kosai?
Yeah! She went to Kosai. Oh my gosh, that's writing.
Okay, right.
It was
okay.
Everyone's
senpais except you. But no, yeah, but like, you're in like that Shujin room. All the desks are pushed off to the side, and just at the front of the room is just this big pile of desks that the bully girl is sitting on top of, and just like like literally talking down at Alice is really good. You have like Natsume's, which is like, it's this cafe, but there's no tables in the middle. It's like the entire cafe is just centering on that bar where the two guys are sitting. With like Mari's, it's like this giant pile of snow and just like this big freaking like, it's just fully building upon what happened to her. And then like later in the game with Konoe, it looks like a horror movie basically.
Konoe's is insane. I definitely want to talk about Konoe a little later because I wish he was in this game a little more. Konoe was really good.
And the sad thing is, if I have to make a prediction knowing the Persona fandom, I don't think Persona is going to like Konoe.
Yeah.
Which is really sad.
Oh, gosh. Because Konoe is very much... Like, him and Ichinose are the idea of, again, not justifying their actions, but going to the core of it, and taking that idea to their extreme, where, again, Konoe was literally put into the circumstance where he's like, yeah, no one would help me. I was only there for myself. Were you guys gonna show up and help me? Like, could I have a way to kill my dad?
Like,
that
I'm gonna cry.
Hurt. That one hurts because legit, like, there is no answer to that. It's like, again, it doesn't justify.
I don't know, man. I wasn't born yet. What'd you want?
It doesn't justify the path he took.
17. This happened 20 years ago.
It's so good though. I do like how Konoe is just Iron Man, but more evil.
I was gonna say, I guess before we get to Konoe, I was gonna say fourth jail. At least mention it.
Yeah, I will say one thing I like thinking about, which is kind of grim. I don't know if I should say I like thinking about, but again, you get to the fourth jail where it's like the I guess the tribesmen. I don't know. Whoever was on Okinawa, the researcher. The researcher, that's what it was.
Oh, the guy who died?
Yeah.
You mean? Or...
Yeah,
okay.
the researcher, where you get there, and the only thing you find at the end is the warden, which does kind of imply, like, again, because those are the things actively pushing people down, and that guy did kill himself, so, understandably, that is the only thing left, is the thing that pushed him to that desperation.
Is just, it is the actual, like, they don't get too, like, explicit with talking about, but the subtext is there.
It is grim. Very obvious. That entire jail, again, like, I would probably say it's the worst, quote-unquote, but that entire jail has an aesthetic to it and a vibe to it that blew me away the moment I got there.
Yeah, it is so good, especially because, like, it's not only just the jail, it is the fact that you're stuck in the jail because if you leave, they're gonna kill you.
Yep.
It is it's like the vibe of the jail, knowing what happened there. It's the point where the plot's really building. And, I mean, like, it's pretty serious. Like, it plays up Makoto's fear of ghosts a bit. But other than that, like, it's played very seriously for the most part. All the tapes are unnerving. Especially the one that's just a woman scream, or like just someone screaming in pain.
Yeah.
Like, just stuff like that. Like, this is also where you first see, like, what looks like kind of like experiment shadows. They're just these blobs. Like, they aren't like full, like, security guard looking people. It just works. But then you can also watch Ryuji dangle from a crane, and it's funny.
Yeah, I was about to say, it has the little obstacles where they're just hanging around.
Because, yeah, whenever you have, like, the different objects you can interact with, which, by the way, shout out to the skateboards, Haru Ballin. But, yeah, like, you have all, like, whenever you're running, because, like, the party members don't just follow you around like they do in P5. They just kind of, like, jump off to the side every time you get out of a battle. But they'll, like, hop on some things you can interact with, and that includes just dangling from the cranes.
Wait, was that the one that had the skateboards?
No, I wanted to mention that.
Okay, I was gonna
say. That's the first jail. That's the first jail, but I still felt the need to mention the skateboards because they make me smile.
Sorry, you're right. Though I will note, this palace, I did tell you when I was playing through because we were on call. Shut up.
Oh yeah.
You know, this jail because it's not original OC. It's the best one because you get to jump through windows to attack people, which is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
You can do that in Konoe's too. This one's not special.
Okay.
Also, yeah, the jumping through the windows one, while it's really fun, it's really badass just jumping through a window at a shadow, grabbing onto the shadow, and everything going slow motion, so, like, the glass behind you is still falling.
It's really good.
I'm like, ooh.
I will say, stuff like that with all the, like, Phantom Strikes and all that does make me kind of think, again, if you're less on the know people on kind of Japan's take on this game, the moment it released, they were like, we want a sequel. And the devs were like, we want to make a sequel. And the game leaves it open enough for a sequel. Give me a sequel. And
give me a sequel.
Please give me a grappling hook.
Yeah, give me a grappling hook.
This game, if they make it a little more open-ended and give it a grappling hook, then I think the dungeons might just be better than Royals. I feel like they could pull that off.
I think as well. I also think, because this game very clearly takes place after the normal ending of Royal, or at the very least, like, vanilla P5 or whatever.
Yeah.
It also, though, would not be too much of a stretch to just retcon it and pretend Strikers took place after Royal.
I mean, Royal leaves enough at the end to really imply... You can see it either way and be justified, because Royal has the thing where, again, this isn't a big spoiler for Royal, you don't have to worry about that, but at the very end, all of them do talk about the things they have to pursue in their life, and talk about how they're going to be splitting up for now, and Strikers makes that a much more triumphant return as a group, and makes it make a little more sense that they haven't, like, been communicating. So, you can see it either way.
Yeah.
Both endings are great anyways in P5.
The only like, if they decide to make a sequel, to have it follow up Royal and Natsume in it and stuff, the only real suspension of disbelief you kind of have to put in is the fact that, yeah, they never even once mentioned Sumi or the final villain.
Listen, they had a lot on their mind. They had to meet Alice.
But at the same time, they also never... The words Goro Akechi are not ushered once in this game, and he was in vanilla.
I find it funny. People got really pissed about that before the game came out. They were like, yeah, so I've heard this game doesn't bring up Akechi. And I'm like, listen, I get it. But at the same time, the only one who genuinely has a connection with him is Joker. He barely talks as is, and they're on their summer vacation. Let them not talk about the freaking hitman for 1 month.
Yeah, the fucking dead guy that tried to murder them.
Yeah, the dead hitman who tried to murder them after murdering several of their loved ones.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't bring him up either.
But he's pretty hot, though.
No, he's not. Don't lie.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, Okinawa was really cool. Oh yeah, I do also want to mention the anime beach scene in that one. It made me smile so much. I like Yusuke. Like just every, like, little animation in that is just so nice. Of just like you have On, like, coming out of the water. I just love Ryuji. Just like, Okinawa's the freaking best, and just Ren fixing his glasses is so funny.
I will say, other than the shot that just holds on On's boobs. Other than that, because I still think the P5 beach scene kind of handled that more tastefully.
Who cares On's tits? What's your problem?
I do think that this might be my favorite animated cutscene, other than, like, I guess boss ones towards, like, the later parts of, like, P5. For just, like, a casual hangout, this is probably my favorite cutscene.
It's very pretty.
It is a very gorgeously animated one. I love the shot of Sophia under the water looking at the fish.
I will say the other thing, though, about, what's it called? About...
Barely mentioned Sophia. It's an hour in.
The other thing, though, about Ryuji kind of gawking it On a bit there. If you played P5, you know On does.
Yeah.
My favorite thing, though, is Yusuke, you know, he's doing the hand frame thing, tracking Makoto, and then he sees a lobster and starts drowning.
Man, Yusuke really did die there. Maybe
I fucking love Yusuke.
you know, everything did ramp up after that point. Maybe it was all just Yusuke's fever dream as he was drowning.
It's so good. I love also just like little, just like as you know, friggin' an underappreciated trope when done right. Old, cold, bitter old man throwing attacks to these dumb kids. And
I love Zenkichi.
Yeah, them just burying Zenkichi in the sand and him trying to chase him.
You know, I think it's I think it's a good time to actually just stop and talk about Zenkichi and Sophia. I adore both of these characters so much.
Okay, I wanted to update. Well, I'm probably gonna do this later because I have like my tier list I put on Twitter of like all the characters from Persona 3, 4, and 5, and I want to add Striker's characters to that. Zenkichi and Sophia are both double S characters easily.
One thing that I had mentioned this as well before is, you know, there's gonna be kind of obvious comparisons between Sophia and Kasumi from Royal. While I think that Kasumi has a better arc and a more compelling arc than Sophia, I feel like Sophia gets a better opportunity and personality-wise does mesh better with the Fan of Thieves as a whole. I feel like Strikers is probably the most well-rounded the Fan of Thieves have ever felt in terms of the actual group. Again, there's 10 of them, and it never feels cluttered. Everyone gets their moments to shine.
I do also want to point out something I just appreciate. I want to take a moment to appreciate, including Akechi and Sumi. There are 12 Phantom Thieves now.
Yeah.
Now.
Just wait till Arena.
Woo! Man, you better put Zenkichi in Arena. Fucking bastards.
Okay, listen. If we get Arena and they don't include either the friggin' Royal villain or Zenkichi Sophia, I'm gonna have some words.
No, yeah, Sophia is an awesome character. Hottest take I will drop in this video. Sophia takes the concept of Aigis' character arc and does it exponentially better.
Yes!
Like, I want to point out, I love Aigis. She's a great character, and she does embody a Persona 3 is about pretty well, especially in the answer. But that being said, Sophia is way more interesting because unlike Aigis, who gets introduced pretty like early-ish game in the grand scheme of things, but doesn't get a character arc until, I don't know, a couple hours before the final boss, whereas Sophia has a character arc that persists through the entire game. Yeah, Sophia's better.
Sophia is, pun, I guess, intended, at the heart of this game a lot more than something like that. I also think one thing that helps Sophia a lot more is I don't believe Aigis really gets any moment of, like, really having a connection or really confronting the people who made her much. It's more so just her own personal journey, from what I can tell.
Yeah, it's mostly just a personal journey for her. I mean, she has to confront her past about, like, you know, what happened to her and what, you know, she kind of did, but without, you know, being spoilery.
Yeah.
But, yeah, she kind of has to confront that stuff, but not, like, in the way Sophia has to, like, confront, you know, what created her and where she came from. And...
So Sophia has to, like, confront her express purpose, what she wants to be, and confront all of this to the person that created her, while also explaining to the person who created her why the reason they put that purpose out was wrong and why they need to change, while also ironically fulfilling exactly what that person wanted, even though they're too traumatized to actually accept it. I freaking love this writing.
It's so good. And then you have Zenkichi, who, like...
Dad?
I guess that also, unless you have something else to say about Okinawa, kind of... Kyoto. I
like Kyoto.
I like... Okinawa was really pretty. That is one more thing I want to point out. It's fucking beautiful. Just beautiful, like, just beach area.
Man, can they just, like, bring Akane back forever?
Yeah, please. So, man, Kyoto is, like... I will say, purely in terms of playing it, Kyoto's my least favorite jail.
Yeah, it's simple. The maze was very easy, in my opinion, but it's, like...
Yeah. Okay, the maze is easy, but goddamn, every time I went back there for a side quest, I forgot where the portal took me. I will say, I don't hate this jail. I am sure Persona fans will, because if there's one thing
Yep.
Persona fans, it's that they don't know how to fucking do a maze.
Yep.
Oh, the darkest maze in Size Pass is one of the worst parts of the game. How about you fucking grow a pair and learn how to fucking navigate, you dumb... Anyway,
Never a boring one here.
No, yeah, but like, oh yeah, I like, it's a little like thing you do. Yeah, when you what's the location you go to before you go to Kyoto, where you're there for 2 seconds, eat ramen, and then leave?
Oh gosh,
Is that where the final palace or jail took place? Is it the same one? I forget.
No.
I don't know. You went there. You sure did.
You went somewhere. It was cool.
You went there. I love whenever he's in Key. How are you guys? You say at a ramen. He's like, a ramen shop where?
Oh my, oh, this writing. I don't want to be the guy who's just sitting here going, ah! But that really is how this game makes me feel.
Adam, that's all you do when we talk outside of videos.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, also, a joke that deserves to be pointed out, which is when they have to go to Kyoto quickly, Makoto's like kind of, you know, her back's hurting from driving so much, she's really tired, and, you know, they can't really give her the time to rest. So they're like, well, Haru has a license.
Oh my god.
Why not let her do it?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That might be some of the best setup and payoff for a joke. Not just in Persona, but like games.
Just ever.
Just in games.
So they're because it's just this running theme of like, you know, they're talking about and you know, she's like really dedicated to like, yeah, she's like, no, I'll drive everyone, it's fine, don't worry about it, because Haru keeps bringing up, well, I have a license but I don't have that much experience, but I could take over the wheel, and Makoto just being like, no, it's fine, and it's just kind of this running gag of you just being like, okay, Makoto knows something, right?
What did Haru do?
Yeah, and then you finally get to Haru like being asked to drive, and you know, she's just like sitting behind the wheel, and Makoto's like, okay, so I didn't tell you guys this, but when Haru gets behind the wheel, she gets kind of then she starts driving, just fucking peels out.
No, but before that, because what I love is before Haru, like before Makoto even gets to explain, you have Haru sitting there with her eyes closed, like meditative at the wheel, and then she just quickly lifts her head. She lifts her head with a blank stare smile, just like, time to go.
Alright, I have a technique that'll make your head spin, and then yeah, just fade to black. You hear the engine. And everyone screams, and on like the calendar like transition screen, I love that the truck fucking does a flip. Yeah. Oh, this game's so fun. Like I said, someone at Koei Tecmo loved Haru.
They understood very well. Which, okay, just like one thing, you know, me being quote unquote the Okumura guy that I find funny about this.
I'm sorry you have to be known as that, by the way, for the rest of your life.
Yep. But I find it funny because you look back at that scene, which I ended up addressing, I think, at the Royal one, where it is very much implied that, you know, Morgana can't. I guess he can in this game, but Morgana technically couldn't drive himself. On his own as the car, so it was implied that Haru was just sitting there trying to run you over while driving Morgana. Yeah. And I just love the idea that this is the explanation for that, of once she got in the driver's seat, she just lost it.
She's like SpongeBob.
Backing up!
Back it up. It is so funny, and man, and like this game plays a little bit more on what is implied mostly through Memento's dialogue, but is still a beloved part of Haru's character, which is somewhere behind those eyes, there is a cold, stone cold killer.
There is just a living knife.
She is just Haru is the embodiment. One day she's going to be that meme. The aren't you tired of being nice? Don't you just want to go ape shit? Yeah. That is Haru.
I mean, she was my best unit for most of the game, so it checks out.
Okay, I will say, aside from Joker, play, hands down.
Wait, repeat
She's
that?
just got a big act. Like, apart from Joker, Haru's my favorite to play, hands down.
Yeah,
She's got
Haru,
a big act.
Again, whoever made this game really loved Haru, because she has, I wouldn't say she has the most unique mechanic, but I would say like next to Zenkichi probably has the most useful and like awesome to use combos. Like she's got a big freaking. She has two vortexes. One of them is, you know, a tornado of like psychic power, and the other is herself.
Yep.
And then you have her like first one, which is just her slamming the axe over and over. Just little effort.
She's so great. I love like the way they animate Milady as well. Just adds to it. It's so good. But yeah, I do love also after Haru drives and you pull into Diet LeBlanc. Just everyone just looking dead and Haru just standing there, not quite sure why everyone feels so bad. It's like, what's wrong? What happened?
Man, Haru, you're a very interesting driver. Thank you.
Oh, by the way, I have to mention at least one memorable moment that we completely skipped over at the beginning of the game, which is Joker's diversion.
Oh my gosh! Okay, so let's just talk about the ending of the first palace, because, like I said, like, it does feel, for the most part, like, you know, just another quest for the Phantom Thieves, but they do make an event out of that first palace at the very end, because Joker's diversion and the cutscene that ensues is sick.
The cutscene where everyone joins in on the fight after, like, they do what they have to is just... I mean, I audibly cheered at this game multiple times. Yeah. That was, like, ooh, Daredevil in the back, every character, like, just, like, that fucking, like, big spotlight dropping down, the explosion on Ryuji and Mona jump out of it, start fighting. Then the gate finally comes down. Makoto just drives out. Yusuke flies through the sky, and Haru runs in. It is... That moment was made to be the... Alright, the Phantom Thieves are back.
It is pure fan service. It is a perfect tone setter for the rest of the game. I don't know if
and then you get the calling card.
Well, we'll get there, but I just want to say, would you agree with me when I say that scene is like the hand job of the Persona series? In every sense of the phrase?
No, because hand jobs are disappointing.
Okay, it's meant to prepare you for everything, while still simulating what you're gonna get.
I guess. I think we need to learn what sex is.
Alright, listen here, bucko. Anyways, the calling card. I love it.
And then the calling card, which is like this kind of callback to Shido's calling card, because again, you hack all Shibuya and the instrumental Wake Up, Get Up, Get Out There plays. I was like, big smile. And like, you actually see Joker on the screen, like, fully, and he just fucking throws the card against the screen.
And it says February 21st, 2020. The release date of Persona 5 Scramble. Man, I love that scene.
That's my favorite. It's so good, and I also love, but at the same time, that also has puts an even bigger target on their back.
That was one thing I loved that I was really hoping would happen is. Because usually they save that for their later things because they don't think they have to do anything else. And at that point, they're like, okay, no. As far as we know, you're on everyone's watch list if, you know, the jails are an intentional thing they're aware of. So, stay low-key, guys.
That is also so... Yeah, I do love that. Zenki, please, begging you. But that's something I appreciate about this game in the way it follows up P5 is... Yeah, Joker's still, like, basically a wanted criminal, even after they cleared his name.
No, yeah, the game's plot basically starts because Zenkichi walks in like a smug little douchebag, and he's like, hey, kid, want to not go to jail? You're gonna help me, and I'm still gonna send you to jail.
No, yeah, it is so well done. Like, I love that. Like, that is... To me, at least, part of what makes Joker such a cool, interesting character is the fact that he never catches up.
No. In fact, this game also implies that he is still basically traumatized by Shido.
Yeah.
Which is sad. but makes sense. One thing
Yeah, because I mean, you know, he had his life ruined.
Yeah. One thing I did also want to mention, though, on the note of the calling card, is something that I didn't really appreciate in the moment as much. I did when they happened, but like actually thinking about it, there isn't really a bad calling card in this game, like a generic one. Like in P1, it's very much like
No, they're
P1,
all cool.
P5. It's a lot of the time it's just like we're gonna have this.
The calling cards in P1 suck.
Yeah, in a P5 they're gonna send the calling cards over just to whoever's gonna see it, and they do it in their own personal abode. And in this game, they're constantly like, no, we're gonna make sure it's known. We're gonna plaster these all over their freaking book signing or whatever. Or I forgot what they did for Mario.
Yeah, I was.
Oh yeah, they put it on like advertising near her campaign trail.
Yeah, they put her like they put our campaign trail. I was gonna say with yeah, like P5's calling cards. Like the actual premise for how most of them get sent is cool. It's just that you never actually get to see where most of them are sent. Because like the idea that Mona and whoever else put calling cards all down Main Street for Kaneshiro is cool. You just don't see it.
That is sick. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and like I think like I forget, was it like where Okumura lived, or did they plaster like Okumura Food's like HQ? I think it was the HQ.
It was HQ, yeah.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate you don't really get to see that. In this game, you see every call. That ass.
It is very
but yeah, anyway, Kyoto, we were gonna talk about Kyoto.
Yeah, freaking jeez, there's a lot to discuss in this game.
Real quick, I want to bring this up because people get mad at this, and it's such a stupid thing to get mad at. So the two hot spring scenes in this game. The first one's really funny. You can tell Ryuji he's got a nice cock, and Futaba's really gay. The second one in Kyoto that people I saw getting like actually mad at, I'm like, yeah, it's not exactly tasteful, and it's kind of just generic anime antic.
I would,
but one,
again, say
it's a neat callback. Go ahead.
Well, I would also say, like, this isn't meant to fully justify the point of it, because I still think it's one of the least funny scenes in the game. But with that said, continue.
I was just gonna say as well, like, no, yeah, I mean, like, I could have done without this scene. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
But I appreciated it as a Persona 3 callback. It's a weird part to call back to on P3, but since P5 very much wants to, you know, because P5 is very like heavily like a part of like its societal commentary. They want to keep everything in the real world, so they aren't going to go to like a fake place. So I get why, yeah, if you're going to call it back, go to the one real place that was in P3. But I don't know. I was just gonna say as well, it is funny whenever you as Ren can, you know, be a reasonable human being and be like, we should just, you know, tell them like grown-ups. And Morgana's like, no, we have dignity as thieves.
We're gentlemen.
I'm like, all right, buddy. We're gentlemen. That's why we're locked in here with the girls.
Yeah, even then, like, again, call it like antiquated comedy, whatever, like not actually that funny. Which I can agree, like, on the actual, like, trope itself. It's
Makoto
also, again, not saying this makes it good, but it is also, like, literally a 30-second scene.
It is literally, like, 30 seconds and just a reference. And one thing I do appreciate about that, I think, is unlike Persona 4, where Yosuke and Teddy are actually dicks,
as well as the girls, I believe, from what I remember.
Yeah, the girls are fucking.
Everyone in the hot spring scene for P4.
That was actually worth getting mad about.
Everyone is in the wrong, and it's not in a funny way. It's in an infuriating way.
No, yeah, because unlike P4, where each of the guy, like Yosuke, are kind of being pervy douches, and in P3, where getting locked in with the girls was actually Junpei and Ryoji's plan. This game, none of the guys wanted this. Oh, hang on.
Oh.
I don't know what happened. Discord. Someone called me. And you. But fucking... No, yeah, the other thing I think is important to mention about this scene that makes it easier to swallow. Nobody... The guys didn't plan this. They didn't want this. They wanted out. None of them even made a joke about wanting to gawk at them. They just wanted to sneak out.
Yeah, they were just out of there.
I don't know, minor thing. That's too long of a tangent for a 30-second scene, but I just had to get that out. Still so stupid that that's an actual point of contention with this game.
I will say, just a slight tangent as well, the Persona 4 anime, it's not like it's worse than the game version, but it might make me more upset because the episode it's dedicated to, I don't know if you remember the moral of it.
What was it?
So in that episode, basically the guys are perpetually getting screwed over by the girls, and it's all capped off with a hot spring scene where, in that scenario, it actually was an accident, like it was identical to what happens in Strikers. And the girls still are just as unreasonable about it and awful about it there. And you expect it based on how it's going that the girls at the end are gonna apologize or finally give the guys a break. But no, that episode just ends with Kanji, Yosuke, Teddy, and you basically just being dead and giving up.
Well, no, because what happens is the girls all say, hey, let's just not apologize to the guys. Let's just keep it a secret that I'm wrong. Which is
stupid.
Just mean. And then there's the guys' plan, which is, man, they fucked us over. I have an idea. Let's sneak into the room while they're sleeping.
This is stupid.
I hate Persona 4.
Oh my gosh. I love Persona 4. I hate Persona 4.
That's how I feel. Man, anyway.
This
Can we talk about the good
really
part of Kyoto?
Yeah, so Kyoto. Akane is such a good character.
Yes.
Her and Zenkichi have a very good dynamic and are very good sides of this coin where the moment you meet her, which we did kind of skim over for, the other driving scene, but we also have the phone call Joker gets from Akane taking Zenkichi's phone. Actually, no, this was before that, where they're talking about what they're going to do next. Oh yeah, because they were planning to go to Okinawa. And then Zenkichi gets a call being yelled at, and he's like, okay, never mind, detour time, let's go.
Alright, detour kids, we're going to Kyoto.
And just books it.
It's really funny, but also the conversation that happens right before the call with Makoto and Zenkichi just having a conversation about, being in the police force and how, draining and even sometimes immoral of a job it is.
While also, kind of playing into and foreshadowing a lot of the corruption within the police force within this game, while also, man, Kaburagi is also a super underrated character, the chief.
Man, an important thing to know, I said this on Twitter, if I see a single person say that Zenkichi's a bad character cop, I'm going to go ballistic, because even if, even if, Zenkichi's still a cop by the end of the game, and it still, shows the police doing a good thing at the end, this game does have a fuck the police attitude.
I also will say, even regardless, there is a big difference between the Japanese police and American police, or places with, bigger cultural, melting pots. There's big difference. Not defending the Japanese police, but if you will get pissed at them, you gotta specify what you're getting pissed at.
It's I don't want to turn this into a political thing too hard, but I'm not gonna talk too much about police politics in Japan because I don't live there. I don't understand it. So there's that,
exactly,
which is kind of my pleading ignorance of look, I don't understand the Japanese police force, so I'm not even gonna touch that. My way of looking at it though is the thieves are very anti-police.
Yeah.
The whole thing with them. And also, it's not just there's police force corruption, but it was change of heart, so who cares? Because they showed that there was corruption happening that wasn't the result of a change of heart, like with Kaburagi. So, it doesn't shy away from that. It goes into it even further than P5 did. P5 also went pretty hard in on, police corruption, because that's what fucked Reno over.
That's the thing,
so,
based on how Persona 5 portrays politics, but... with how it's portrayed, it's very much the commentary is, instead of, I guess American politics, it's, people of color or whatever minorities being, held down by police at a systemic level. The difference there is the corruption is on a political level, where it is, higher ups, whatever, corrupt adults, if you want to use that term.
Or shitty adults, as a great man once said.
Just the people in power who are kind of controlling the police and what they're doing specifically, and that's the kind of thing where what P5 as a whole... Oh gosh. What P5 as a whole tackles a lot is the people in those positions, like Sai or Zenkichi or Kaburagi, them actually like stepping up and not bowing to those powers and actually reforming from the inside. So it is a very different situation, and in that situation, using the idea of individuals changing that society makes sense.
And on top of that as well, the thing that when people give Makoto shit for wanting to be a cop, that is very overlooked, which is the fact that she wants to be a commissioner so she can reform what she sees as wrong.
Like Kaburagi.
Yeah. Because Kaburagi managed to make real change. And that's what Makoto wants to do.
Which...
Anyway.
Oh, gosh. Really good characters, and it really fleshes out the main cast already and pushes it further. I love this game.
It's really good. Because, like, I do like... Yeah, they didn't... You know, and I know part of it's Japan politics, all that. They didn't back down from Makoto wanting to be wanting to be a police commissioner. They developed it in a way that made a lot of sense and really built upon what Makoto wanted.
Yeah, they also, parallel, her experience and her father especially with Zenkichi, which then leads into Akane in her situation where we meet Akane at, not a funeral, but at a grave for her mom.
Yeah.
With her chewing out Zenkichi in a kind of understandable, but also like, man, I am so upset right now situation.
Because you've been with Zenkichi all this time, and forget. He wanted to be there.
I find it interesting because, like, I was following the, kind of like teasers for this game from Japan for a while, and I think you also saw like Akane when she was revealed.
Oh, yeah, you told me about this.
Yeah, but for me, like,
I made her my PFP for a short time.
When I saw her, like, the way she looks, you're like, oh, it's like a sweet little girl, and she's like Zenkichi's like whatever child, and she's gonna be like sweet fan of the fantasies or whatever. And then the first time you meet her is her shouting at Zenkichi, being like, "You're no father, you're a piece of garbage, can't even do anything." It's like, okay, you're very different from what I expected.
And once you see her full model, you actually realize, oh, you're not 2.
Yeah, you're not 4 years old. You're 13, 14.
Yeah, she's like going into high school. She's our last year of middle school. So yeah, she's like 15, I'd say.
And then you find out she's a YouTube podcaster who has 35,000 more subs than I do.
Yeah. Okay. I had it spoiled because like I saw the Japanese teasers, but the reveal that her room is just filled with Phantom Thieves merch is really funny.
It's really good. The way that he's showing up, because Zenkichi's like, yeah, I don't really follow what she does. She's into some internet thing. And you walk in and it's just everything. And she goes up to the computer, she's like, what she call them, like freaks with a PH?
Yeah, Phantom Freaks.
I want to watch the Phantom Thief podcast.
I also love the fact that...
Oh gosh, we have to steal that podcast name before somebody else does.
Oh, damn, you're right. We need to make the 500th Persona podcast.
Yes.
We're coming for you, Spencer. But there was also, I do love a lot of the dialogue options you get in that moment, because did you also just blurt out, "We are the Phantom Thieves" at her? Yeah. And everyone just looks at you and is like, what the fuck are you doing? That's a cover for your idiocy.
Thank you, Joker. Very cool.
Oh yeah, speaking of, a running gag, especially in the first jail, of them being like, well, we need someone to be the distraction. Everyone looks at Joker.
Yeah. Man, like, Joker, there are some really funny running gags with Joker. One that I really appreciated is in Natsume's dungeon, where you can just continuously, like, every time you fight the,
just keep being the destined hero and keep
every time you're fighting the 4 horsemen or whatever, you're just like, we're gonna take you down, villain! It's like, and every time you're just like, oh, so you're still going on with that. Okay.
It's really funny.
Really getting into this.
Joker has a personality, fight me. Oh, man. But man, that moment where, like, you realize that, like, Akane's been turned into a monarch.
Well, even before that, I want to note, because that's a freaking great moment. One,
I've always said we weren't going to go beat by beat.
We jumped around a bit. But I do want to note, a big thing before that. One, her rapport with the fan of thieves is freaking great. I love her interaction with everyone, especially Makoto. On takes a bath with her, which is, I guess, more normal in Japan.
Yep. I love as well her crush on like
Joker.
Not Ren but Joker.
Yeah.
And you just gotta sit there and you're like, yeah. I've done it.
I do love in that moment. You can't just be like, maybe we should tell her.
Yeah.
But one thing with me on the less funny note is that scene at the dinner table where, you know, Makoto is just kind of like lecturing her on her relationship with Zenkichi and kind of comparing it to her father, and she just kind of breaks down crying.
Oh yeah.
And like, because there is progress being made there, and she is genuinely trying to like understand and kind of like explain to them. Oh gosh, but the way she breaks down there, it hits really hard.
And when you realize that Zenkichi heard it, he was eavesdropping.
Yeah.
That is it's late game, like very end, but like that line Zenkichi has, it's like, you know, that this type of thing, it hurts the most when it's coming from your daughter. And it's like speaking from experience, and he doesn't even like have a quip. He's just like, yep.
Oh my gosh.
I loved. He made a joke about this in the tier list video, but I love dad character.
Dad characters are peak.
Do not put up a picture of Bob Duncan. But
oh man, I always forget about how many gags are in that.
I never forget that one.
That tier list video is not to like show my other videos, but that is one of my most underrated videos. That and like the April Fools are two videos that I put a lot of work into, and they got seen. But man, those videos have some bits in them where, especially those being like the early ones where I had less of a pattern with what I was doing, there was a lot of crackheaded moments in there.
But no, yeah, I love dad characters like Sojiro, Dojima, two of my favorite. So like, Zenkichi is just such an interesting portrayal of that, and like the way he's portrayed. I hate to say it because he's like unironically one of like my top 5 favorite P4 characters, but I do like Zenkichi just a bit more than Dojima. And
I can agree there.
He's so well done. I don't know if I like him more than Sojiro.
That's hard fight. That's a hard fight. Yep.
But man, Zenkichi's arc is so fucking good. And then like Zenkichi gets arrested. Oh yeah, that moment where
gosh, yeah, he just shouts to them from the freaking outside of the hot springs and just gets arrested. Run. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love Zenkichi.
Just fucking run. It's so good. And then like, yeah, like all of them hiding out at Diet Lab. I love, yeah, because like they let Morgana, like Morgana's he's just a cat. And I do just little joke I love, just what the password, what's something that goes well with curry? Ugh, coffee. Why do I need a password? I'm a cat.
It is, oh my gosh.
It's really funny. Like that's what I love about the fan of these. They're very like put together and know what they're doing. They're also dorks who half the stuff they do, they just do because they think it's cool. They don't need code. It is well established. No, they don't need a code name. The Shadow will not remember their name, but they just want to. It's fun.
The Okinawa cruise comes to mind with that. You guys are so stupid.
So stupid. I love how he just comes out and says it.
It had to be said. Dumb. Someone had to say it.
Oh man. But them hiding out, I love like it. That brought back like that level of like intensity of like in P5
Shido Palace
when you're presumed dead and you haven't sent the calling card yet and you're running around with like your hood up. It brought back that energy that I in that game, and it's just like, yeah, if we step foot outside, we die.
Yeah.
So like, you know, we just have to stay here and hide, and it's so cool. And we brought up Sai earlier, but Sai's return is as funny as POV or Sai Nijima is really funny. It is also a badass return. Like as soon as I heard that guy just say like Nijima, I was like, oh,
they're doing it.
I was so happy. I was like, this is so cool. Because, like, I wanted Sai to return. Like, because they brought her up a bunch of times. I was like, please put her in. But then she actually came back, and I was like, this is the coolest thing. And, them, like, going to the Kyoto jail for the first time. Everyone except Futaba getting kidnapped. And, revealing that, it wasn't actually Akane, it was her shadow. And also, yeah, that text you get that's just really threatening. That's just like...
We have your daughter.
Yeah. Yeah, we have Akane. And yeah, the jail is like... Yeah, the jail's... the keyword is Phantom Thieves. It's just... Oh, it's such a good setup. And that moment as well, when Futaba... It's just Futaba and Zenkichi is so cool.
Zenkichi!
It's so... I don't know, I love, like, stuff like that. Especially, like, again, great character moment for Futaba.
Oh, yeah.
Super scared, reclusive girl who now... She has to do this essentially alone, because let's be honest, Zenkichi wasn't doing much till he awakened.
He was kind of standing there. He was jogging. Fun Zenkichi stealth section.
He's not a Phantom Thief. It's like he has to have like the super fast agility. So whenever you
did you ever
whenever
die?
You transition, no, I didn't get caught.
It is another one of those situations where the turrets just kind of turn around and just gun him down, and he just flops on the floor. I'm like, oh no.
No, yeah, but that whole segment of like, yeah, Futaba has to, she's super reclusive, bad at being social, all this shit, but she steps up to the plate when it matters most, and with Zenkichi saves everyone. I adore that. It's so cool.
Zenkichi's awakening is really good.
The little visual flares that Zenkichi and Sophie's awakening get. Ooh.
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like one of the best for me with Zenkichi's.
It's up there for me.
I think like because Koei Tecmo has a very different directional, like, they take direction in, like, scenes very differently than Atlus does. And the way they handle it is, like, it's very different, but I very much appreciate it. I love, like, Zenkichi having just his shadow literally staring at him through the ground and over him. And just, like, eyeing him down, and he slams his fist into their palm. And all of a sudden, Valjean comes up, and, ooh!
And the way... Also, that... Before he even awakens, that whole conversation with Shadow Akane...
tears.
Heart-wrenching. Like, that... The moment for me that hit the hardest was whenever she was like, what about the family of that secretary? Did you ever think about how they felt? And Zenkichi being like, I didn't realize you were even thinking about that.
See, that's like one of those things,
I'm so sorry.
Again, not to like do huge comparisons like this, but that is one of those things that very specifically reminds me of Dojima, but makes me kind of, makes it set in why I like Zenkichi more than Dojima, because like they take some of those ideas and run with them a little harder. And very much just showing that guilt and how he confronts it. Yeah,
it's like, you know... Why, her just basically shouting at him, just like, why don't you care? Until he finally stands up and is like, I do care, I've always cared, and I'm gonna stop running away.
That is also when you find out that Awada killed her mom. Because, again, you don't...
yeah, that too.
You don't, like, fully get it, because they're like, oh yeah, we, like, she apparently saw him, but... For all we know, she just kind of described the guy and it didn't do much. But you find out they're like, no, she specifically knew who she saw and tried to point it out, and they couldn't do anything about it. Which makes her stance there so much more sympathetic.
Not to mention as well, side note, I love her shadow design so much.
Oh my gosh, so cool. the top hat and like the kind of inverted colors of her dress that like are reminiscent of Shujin. Which, you know, goes further into the anti-Joker that we see.
And the way as well that... The way, and also how it look, and how, like, the outfit in general also kind of looks like a lot of that knockoff Phantom Thief merch she had, which is what her version of the Phantom Thieves is.
Yeah, it's not the real deal, as Joker puts it.
The way, as well, like... Zenkichi as well, I want to point out, Valjean's voice is so powerful in that awakening.
Oh, 100%.
I love the voice acting on that. and it's just Valjean's so cool. The way the way he ripped off the mask, that hurt. Like physically.
I will say one thing.
I felt that in my bones.
One thing with that one is, I think the only time we've really seen this in like P5 is kind of with Joker, where the shadow explicitly is basically just beating them down, like, because it's not just like some holier than thou voice inside that has all the answers. When he's feeling like he has no hope, that inner voice is just beating him down and being like, everything you've done here is bad, everything you did here was wrong, like, that's awful, you're not like accepting what you should have done, and are just cowering down. And then when they actually give him that push, that's the thing, because Valjean is just like, beating him down.
Yeah, like that sort of like voice he's hearing, like in wherever, like he's just kind of in the void and just like what the mysterious voice. Yeah, no, that's so cool. Like Joker's does kind of the same thing, and it's so well done. And the way like it actually like frames each of those shadows looking at him, and then you realize that the shadows have the same eyes as Valjean.
It's so good.
It's so cool.
Super good awakening. Zenkichi is sick in this game gameplay wise, by the way. Like, I didn't.
He's like rage mechanic.
He's like a berserker. Where he's like, he's got like the regeneration and then can just do, you know, rage mechanic. His health's going down, but he obliterates everything. Also, we finally have like, Akechi kinda was like this, but it was a surprise. Like with Zenkichi, you kind of expect him to be like the curse boy to round everything out, but no, he's like almighty and ailments, which is super unique, but really
he's the Mega Doyon one.
Yeah.
His like, because his whenever you actually like look at his persona, cause like it shows like what each person's main persona element is, which is basically like that's like what their follow-up combo attacks are, which is mostly important for Joker. But with Valjean, his element that it lists is gun, which I do also think fits into Valjean, or like, you know, Zenkichi's got like the dual revolvers and stuff.
Yeah.
But like having like this character that primarily does revolve around like the buffing moves is really cool.
It's good way to round up the gameplay of this game. I love it.
Yeah, like they are just kind of like, yeah, we're gonna keep Joker as the first user.
All right, so Michelle,
which I like.
You get to gush now about the boss fight.
This is my favorite part of the game.
It's not my favorite, but it's definitely up there.
This moment is just Shadow Joker. One, for the love of God, I've always wanted Smash Ultimate to do costume DLC.
Please.
I'm begging you.
Please.
Give me I know there's a mod for it, which is really, and one day I might have to download that. But man, please.
Please.
Akane's Joker. I need that as an alt. The fight itself is so cool.
He is
like just this one
relatively difficult.
No, he whooped my ass my first time. He is hard. And I also, because I'm me, I was like, all right, I'm gonna use Arsene and just Arsene.
Yes, yeah,
because it feels right. And I also love it's a 1v1.
That moment
is the best part.
When the fight starts, and you also get it whenever you like get all of his shield down, which, you know, takes a while because he has no weakness, and I barely had any crit stuff. But just that moment they just rush at each other and have that clash is so good.
Yeah.
Just pure anime goodness. Ooh.
It's so cool. If there's one thing I wish this game had, I really wish there was a way. One, you can't rematch them. Every other fucking boss you can rematch, except like some of the wardens or whatever. You can't rematch Shadow Joker. I'm so mad. But I also would have loved it if I thought this is what they were going to do. I thought they were going to make me fight all of them. I was told Joker was taking my. It's just going to be this. But I wish there was a way for me to do every 1v1.
I will say, like, kind of, I guess, pointing towards the thing ahead. That fight, I was thinking, like, yeah, we're gonna potentially do like multiple of the thieves fighting their individual shadow versions and maybe make them like a little easier. I was hoping in this game at some point we were going to get that thing where it's not just, you're playing as Joker and you have to have that, like, 4 group or just him. We do get that in the final boss, and it's the best.
We'll get to that, yeah. But, man, that Shadow Joker fight, because I forget, is it Last Surprise Scramble playing? Yeah, that also adds to it a lot.
Is, the perfect juxtaposition for fighting other great fight. I love it.
Fighting Akane's Joker. I like that it's Akane's Joker. I believe you said, like, isn't in, like, Japanese Joker My Beloved, which is also a great name.
It's like Joker My Beloved, Joker My Dear, something like that in Japan, I think. Which is a fantastic name as well. I would argue a better one, because it's not just Akane, but it's fair.
Also, yeah, the fact that, of course, because, he's that he also uses all of, like, the environmental attacks with swinging on, like, the poles and stuff.
Okay, that's why I'm like, that is 100% the most anime fight in this game, because you get to see what you've been doing to everyone, which is this man zooming around the map at light speeds, like, dodging around, spinning, and you're like, oh, frick.
Yeah, half your attacks are missing, because you have to, like, wait for opening, like... Oh, it's so cool. And then you beat him, you get that another heart-to-heart with Zenkichi and Akane. Zenkichi thinks his daughter died.
Yeah, the Phantom Thieves just straight up gaslight him into thinking Akane was gonna die by not saying anything, because they're like, okay, but it was really touching. Oh my god.
Like, you don't want to kill the moment.
It was very sweet.
Also, a little thing about Akane's shadow design. I love the red highlights.
The what?
In her hair. The red highlights, like, the end of her hair.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, the mask with, like, the teardrop on it. It's like, ooh.
I
really like that.
It is...
so cool.
It is symbolic of life. For every Akane Phantom sprite we have in life, we have Shadow Mari. And really, isn't that the balance?
No.
Oh boy, Akane's is great.
Hey,
it's short.
Hey, what was that? Konoe or something?
Yeah. Konoe's good. His dungeon. I know this term will scare everyone off.
Yep. Here we go.
His dungeon is very much the love child of Okumura's palace and Shido's palace from P5, except I wouldn't say it's as good as Shido's palace in gameplay. For a lot of people, it probably will be. For me, not. It is definitely better than Okumura's. I mean, I like the... Whatever. It's good. Konoe is a really good antagonist, and I really wish we got more of them.
Side note, by the way.
Yeah.
Because I will admit, at first, I thought I wasn't going to much, and trauma cell.
Yep.
But minor thing I want to point out as well. Man, these monarchs need to stop putting air vents in jails.
Yeah! That's something I especially thought about when you get to that door where it's like, oh yeah, here's the VIP room, or here's this blatantly locked door. Alright, we need to look for an exit. And you literally look to the bottom left corner right next to the door, and there's just a vent. It's like, alright, we got this.
It's really funny. My favorite, though, is when during Konoe's jail, when you get caught and, like, you get, like, captured, and you're like,
oh, yeah.
All right, where's the vent? Stop putting air vents in your fucking jails, you dumbass.
In, like, weirdly convenient... They could have put it in the hall.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on Akane's jail. I'm pretty sure all of them could have slipped through those jail bars, but let's not talk about that. But Konoe's great. He has one of the most tragic backstories of any Persona character, because it's really hard to find an answer for what he could have done. It is too real. It is, like... I feel bad for the people who, like, will genuinely probably get, like, in a way triggered by that, because it is intense what he goes through.
Yeah, no, this game is going to get, like, that kind of response from some people. I will say, one thing I want to praise, of course, it's an Atlus dub. Every voice is great. Konoe's VA, I have to give especially big props to. not only because as a shadow and like as like the villain, he's threatening. He's got like, you can hear like the conviction and the pain in his voice, but also when he's just being generic Bill Gates man, it is way too accurate to that type of presenter when he's like at the college, and I'm like, man,
I would buy whatever he's selling. That's all I'm saying.
It was really funny. It's like we at Medici. Jesus.
I will say, on the note of like the voice acting, one thing I'm actually really happy with is we didn't get all of the like, I don't know if you get what I mean by this, but like the stock Atlus voice actors for the like miscellaneous people. We got people who actually know what they're like doing performance wise. Because like the random civilians in this game are a lot better than the ones in P5 where it's just like, oh, what did you say?
I mean, there's some, don't get me wrong, there are still some funny ones. There's the dude bro shop salesman. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. The moment I heard that, I'm like, sorry, I need to buy a couple more items from you.
See you later, bro.
Yeah, because that's Okinawa, right?
He's in a couple places. There's that one. There's the freaking like super bored teenage girl sounding one who sounds like fucking Lillian from Honey Pop.
Yeah. Those Soreners are amazing.
There's in Okinawa. I'm pretty sure that was just Gilbert Gottfried.
But overall, the voices are better.
No, yeah, there's a couple, but overall, I assume, my guess, you know, because I doubt they got VAs people. My guess is it was just a lot of the jail boys they got to do those voices. Yeah, it's real well done.
Kanoe's fight was sick.
Oh yeah. I don't know if I have anything else really to say about the jail itself. The jail, I think, I definitely enjoyed it, but I don't know. It wasn't
more tedious. I think the enemy selection was kind of annoying at times.
Yeah. There's a little bit of tedium, but I mean, it's still fine. Like, it's still fun. I was never not fun.
Yeah. It was
apart
just
from
like...
apart from side quests, finding the fucking lost desire in that place sucks.
Oh gosh, I'll get there. I still haven't done that one.
But yeah, other than that, like, it's a really fun jail. Oh yeah, also I need to point out, we didn't mention it earlier, but yeah, Life Will Change is still in this game, unremixed, because you can't remix it.
No, you can't.
It is the anthem of the Phantom Thieves. You can't change it.
Yeah, and that's the one exactly as I expected. That's when the vocals kick in for Life Will Change.
Yep, exactly.
And
because the vocals play at the very first one as well, which gives it the weak back feel again, and like really builds upon like the super climactic calling card you sent. But then after that, does instrumental for a while, and then for Koei lyrics.
Yeah. And
also, yeah, every jail having basically two of those, or most of the jails having like two of those modes, because you also have the raid with Daredevil playing.
Ooh. Those okay. Can we talk about the raids more specifically? Because we mentioned like the distraction, but raids are such. In regular P5, I feel like it would hurt the flow of things.
Yeah,
in
you're
a
still
way.
Supposed to be stealthy.
Yeah, you're still supposed to be stealthy, and like you're already on that time limit of when you have to get things done, so you don't want like those extra days padding things out. In a game where the time limit doesn't matter, having that moment of like, we are going to specifically have a raid to get to the like desires is so good.
Yeah.
It is fantastic every single time.
It is so badass, and I love it. And then yeah, just Life Will Change while playing, you getting up to the cage and like climbing the chain up there. It's just so cool.
Oh my gosh.
And then you fight Koei, and again, that is...
Was that from him, but...
That moment where... Well, a couple things about it. Just, yeah, there was not a clear solution to his answer. It was like, alright, the kid is 8 years old, I think, right?
Something like that.
He was like very young. His father had an extreme amount of power, both over his life and just people in general, because he was influential. He told the police, and the police ignored what he said. Like, you do genuinely have to ask, Was there a better solution than Konoe killing his dad? Which I'd say the answer was yes, probably. But what are you gonna make the kid like? How are you going to get the kid to figure that? Like, especially when his mom's dead.
I love Ichinose as a villain, but Konoe was probably the like best commentary and kind of rebuttal on the thieves, and like best way of discussing how like what changes of hearts are and the morality of it, because it very much does like take that thing of, again, in his circumstance, what else could he have done, and how much can you really say, you know, at some point you have to grow past this, because in his stance, as far as we know, he didn't have anyone close to him who could have shown him a better way to live. And his big comparison he makes, which he is, you know, dead set on, is, what's the difference between you and me? I'm doing the same thing, just optimized. He's trying to solve that problem of, you know, the corruptness in society on a mass scale, so that a point he brings up exactly, like, you can help those people who you come across and just pass by on coincidence, but you'll never save everyone, which is a very crushing thing to mention.
It is a very crushing thing to say, specifically to the Phantom Thieves, who are all about just helping anyone in need. But the thing about him, because that's like his whole thing, is like, you will never save everyone. I can. That's his whole thing. And the way, oh man, the other important thing that this brings up that I think is really important, 'cause I sent you a tweet like a couple days ago, someone had, and I've seen this a lot, which is people saying that the Phantom Thieves morality is bullshit and they're on a high horse. No,
someone needed
because
to scramble.
Not only
strikers, whatever it's called.
Yeah, not only is in original P5 is it made very clear throughout that first like palace arc that this is not what they want.
Yeah, I was gonna say, someone hasn't played Strikers. Nah, someone hasn't played Kamoshida's Palace, let alone like Okumura's.
No, yeah, because the whole point, like that's a big contention in that first palace, is Ryuji and Ren, you know, Morgana trying to convince them to do this, and Ryuji and Ren basically having to ask, like, you know, is it worth it, especially if it means it could kill him? Is, you know, and like, because they know in their, you know, because they are well aware of the fact that ideally the police would do it because it's their job and it would lead to less people getting hurt. But that's not ideal, because as was shown, the police are never going to solve it. So they have to, even at the risk of killing Kamoshida, they have to stop him after seeing Shiho jump. And that is the big thing about the thieves. They are doing what society won't. And they know it's not the best way to do it, but they have to. Because if they don't, people will keep getting hurt. Because like the tweet I sent you was like, the thieves are like, yeah, we don't take people's desires, we just brainwash them to confess. Which, one, in P5, most of the characters are just objectively bad people, and the ones that aren't are clearly like, you know, not as like dying on the inside as the villains. And two, the big difference with this game is you are not just brainwashing them. You are freeing them from their jail and from their trauma so that they can repent and do what's right.
I will say as well, just a quick thing to note about that specific tweet. One person who did reply to them that they agreed with was that person doing the same format, but then saying, yeah, we do whatever, and then their juxtaposition was the Phantom Thieves ruin, like, yeah, they steal their hearts and then force them to confess and ruin their lives. I'm like, these people were,
you know,
again,
he's a rapist, right?
Yeah, like, to put it bluntly, like, these people are murderers and pedophiles.
Yeah, pedophiles, murderers, human traffickers, abusers, everything.
What they are doing, like, and exactly what Ryuji points out, because he's like, yeah, we don't always know if we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, that line, we don't know what justice is either.
But it is the thing that Sophia brings up that does, you know, very much distinguish it is the difference between what Konoe does and what Sophia does is actually giving people hope that things can get better.
The other thing about the villains in P5 is, yeah, you're ruining their lives. They also deserve to have their lives ruined and to spend the rest of cell. Whereas the villains in Strikers, do any of them get arrested? Apart from Konoe?
No.
Yeah, because I don't think that any of them do. And, like, because the whole thing is, like...
Ichinose tried to get arrested and it didn't work.
Yeah, but, like, because that's the whole thing, is all of them, you know, you are making them repent, you're getting them to do the right thing, and, you know, like, every one of them, like, you know, what's his name? The second one. I can't remember his name.
Natsume?
Yeah, like, he promised to, like, refund everyone's books who bought copies. Alice is going to refund all of the merch that people bought from her. You know, but also it does feed back into the whole thing about giving hope because, you know, An wants Alice to still fight to become a model again.
Oh, Yusuke's scene confronting Natsume in person and being
Him,
like, yeah, you're going to get up and you're going to write a book.
Yeah,
even
you're
if it gives
get up,
one person hope.
You will get up, you will write that book, and I will be there to read it.
I love Yusuke.
You can't give up. And you know, the whole scene with Haru where Mari's like, you know, trying to like drop out of the race is like, I'll never be in politics again. And then the mother of the girl that died tells her, you can't do that.
That would not bring her back to life.
Yeah, it won't bring her back to... This game's so fucking good.
It's such a... Oh my gosh.
Oh! It's so good. And then Konoe, you know, you are showing him what it really means to be a hero. And also, Rivers in the Desert, Scramble, Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike is like... Ooh.
Good song.
For that song. Because we get Rivers in the Desert, which I have grown on that remix a little. Even though, like, I still prefer the original, but I think this works a lot better for this game.
Mm-hmm.
But... like, Counter-Strike being the spiritual successor to Rivers in the Desert, following up on it, works very well.
The other thing, though, about a little parallel I noticed about that scene with Rivers in the Desert. So, if you remember, in Shido's Palace, right before Rivers in the Desert starts playing, it is him, like, on, like, you know, his big, like, throne of the masses.
Mm-hmm.
And it's him, like, slowly walking up the stairs to it, transforming into his shadow attire.
And we get the exact same shot here.
And Konoe does the exact same thing while Rivers in the Desert plays, which also, those doors opening to the robot, him slowly walking up and just... Dun, 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 dun.
Man, I love Rivers in the Desert. And then we get
so good.
The inverse with Counter-Strike, which, very fitting, is him walking out of the ruins of that, still continuing to fight, because, again, this is the only way he can see things going. And just being like, screw this, like, I'm going to fight this on my own. Really good fight.
It is so cool. So cool. Konoe, like, once I got to that whole scene, I was like, this guy is amazing. And the Persona fandom won't like him.
I will genuinely make the argument, I don't know if you'll agree with this.
Okay.
I think relative to the amount of screen time he had in the game, for a character with such short screen time, might be the best character, in my opinion, in Persona for how little they were in the game.
I kind of get what you mean.
Yeah, like, not the best character in Persona, but, like, for a character who had that little time, is probably the best.
Yeah. He is impressive what they do with that short of time. And also, Konoe's calling card, we have to mention.
Oh my gosh! That is... okay, because...
The instrumental version of You Are Stronger.
Okay. The original Shido calling card, and I guess if you want to call it a calling card for Yaldabaoth, still hold the heaviest places in my heart. So does the third semester one in a very different way. That one's so much more tragic. But this is probably... I like the calling card. I said this before when we were talking earlier. I like the calling card that Ichinose, like, or not Ichinose, or is it? No, they do it for the Demiurge. I like that one where they hack into Emma. It's good. But I still think the craziest thing they've ever done is hacking into a blimp, doing a live stream from it, and dropping thousands of calling cards.
It is so cool with the music playing. Also, just kind of funny of like...
we're gonna bake them!
We're gonna bake them. Also, yeah, I love that of just like... Yeah, Zenkichi's calling card's really funny because it's like arrest warrant.
Yeah. Person A.
Yeah, I do love, he's like, yeah, Akira Konoe, the blah 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 whatever. From here on, he'll be referred to as Party A.
Yeah, no, so really Konoe's reaction to that, he's just like, from here on, will be referred to as Party A.
What? Yeah, no, it's really funny. And then like, I also love like the little after with like, you know, Ryuji's kind of like, man, you couldn't have written it, wrote it to be cooler, and then just
it's very Zenkichi.
Well then, yeah, it's very Zenkichi, but I just love Zenkichi being like, oh yeah, it's rich from the guy coming from the guy who messed up his one line.
I love all of their interactions. Like, this is one thing that people very consistently said before this game, and you know, this doesn't devalue the argument you have if you genuinely think this for regular P5, but this game is a complete flip for the people who say that the Phantom Thieves did not feel like friends. I still feel like they felt like a friend group in regular P5 and Royal. I still would never understand that. But here,
like, the thieves don't feel close.
Yeah, here, if you say that, I think you have a problem because it is undeniable.
Yeah, it is so good.
Everyone bounces off each other in a very well handled, very unique way. I don't think there's one like dynamic that isn't kind of like teased a bit.
There's that. Also, I need to point this out because I talked to you a lot. Just how funny it is that the game is really trying to convince you us.
Wait, what?
He's totally the end of the game, huh? Was that?
Oh, you cut out?
Oh, I was just saying, like, the way this game is really trying to convince you that Konoe's the final boss. Definitely him.
Yeah, totally the final boss. This is the final mission of the Phantom Thieves, guys.
That's what I love, because, like, P5 did that as well, but because P5 did that 3 times, and it worked every time, because for the casino, it worked them saying that because you knew it wasn't true.
They also didn't have a choice for the casino.
Yeah, for Shido it works because it very well could have been their final job.
Yeah. And
then for Youdabout it works because in Vanilla it actually was their final job, and in Royal it's followed up in such a way that it works really well. With this though, with them being like Konoe's the end, it's so just blatantly obvious to the player. It's like, this isn't the end. Don't fucking lie to me.
Well, yeah, because they already teased with Emma, which I'm surprised we barely mentioned Emma. You know, the Siri that you can friend request people on.
Yeah.
Which they got Siri's actual voice actress, which is godlike.
That is the fact that the English dub that Emma is voiced by the same person who voices Siri is the stupidest attention to detail that I adore.
It is.
I love it.
Perfect. But you even get that tease where Emma just straight up lies to Konoe, like, oh yeah, they're still captured in Akane's dungeon. No need to worry. So you still get that foreshadowing, but for the, you know, as far as the thieves know, yeah, they're done. Because you want to get more fun summertime in.
I will say, I thought what was going to happen. I thought that after Konoe, the 7th jail was going to be Owada, and then it was going to end with God, whoever God ended up being.
Nah, Owada just kind of got screwed over.
Which I will say that works better.
Yeah.
Because multiple reasons for that, because like they kind of teased that earlier in the game. They kind of almost make you think that's gonna happen, because doesn't Owada have a line where it's like, yeah, Konoe, you're making my jail, right?
Yeah, it's very much teased like that. Also, okay, I'm not. This game does prove a lot of misconceptions with stuff like this, but I also want to note, based on how it's described, do you really want to sympathize at all with Owada?
I mean, they could have made him the one non-sympathetic villain, which is still kind of what they did. But yeah, no, it worked really well. And the other thing about it that I think makes it work better, it is way better for Zenkichi's arc for Iwata to get brought down by very legitimate means because it was what he was running away from for years.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very cathartic to finally see it happen. Because I feel like Iwata is going to be a character that gets compared a lot to something like SI, which is not warranted. Iwata is not a deep character at all. He is a cardboard villain, but that's on purpose.
He's a means to an end.
Yeah, he's a means to an end. He also, not only for Zenkichi, he's a means to an end for Konoe's character arc. Because Konoe is clearly, in his mind, is basically using Iwata for what his plan is. Because, like, he hangs up on the phone with Iwata, he's like, what fucking scum.
Yeah, this is exactly what I'm trying to stop.
Yeah, so like,
nobody likes Iwata.
It's really funny. Fuck that guy.
Oh yeah, very quickly, I do want to note before we move on from Akira, which is the exact point. Yeah, Akira Konoe. You can no longer call Joker Akira.
Yep, it's illegal.
Wrap it up, boys. We're done. He's red now.
Finally, the superior name won.
Or just call him Joker. Continue though.
No, I really like how that arc of the game, the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that was so good.
Now, Ichinose, before I go off on really delving into that...
And he will go off, I promise you.
I do want to note quickly with Sophia, we did kind of mention, like, the Aigis comparison. One thing, and this is still playing into Ichinose, one thing that makes Sophia especially compelling to me is, you know, I guess it's, you know, the classic story of the AI finding out, like, what it means to live and to be a person. Sophia is different because that was her express purpose.
Yeah.
And the game, like, I am surprised how well they pulled that narrative off where, you know, the game starts with these, like, she's the AI, she's like, I want to be humanity's companion, and then she's like, oh, what's the heart? I want to figure that out because all of you guys are, like, obsessed with it. And it very could have easily just been like, oh yeah, she's an AI, and you know she's a part of Emma, like, it's very, you could assume that from the get-go.
Yeah.
But so, you could just be like, oh yeah, you know, she just wants to learn about hearts, whatever, because she's around people who are very hopeful and whatever, and are very emotional. But the way they weave that in to be like, this is what she was built for, and her learning this was literally her directive.
Yeah, the whole idea of an AI whose express job is to understand the heart, even though an AI doesn't have... And it was an AI made by someone who thinks that she doesn't have a heart.
Oh my... That's... The bait and switch of Ichinose, who I kind of already... I was like, I saw her... I know you didn't think this, but I was like, okay, she's the villain.
Once I got to that part of the game, I kind of started to figure it out.
Yeah, but so Ichinose is super compelling in the fact of she, obviously, you know, she has that trauma of both her parents died, and she didn't react to it how it was expected, and basically got convinced, like, she convinced herself, along with other people kind of pushing it on her, that she was a sociopath, and that she did not understand the heart.
Yeah, she is a doll, as the game keeps saying.
Yeah. And the game very much rebuts that, like, no, you have a heart. You have to stop running from that fact. But just because it doesn't work the same as everyone else's doesn't mean it's not there. And that is such a freaking good narrative. Like, they could have...
That is important.
There's a lot of stuff with this narrative that they literally could have just been like, she's a sociopath. And the thing that, you know, changes, like, that makes it... like, a good villain for the thieves is that she can't have her heart change or something. Which, like, yeah, it'd be fine. But this still goes into that trauma and the things that make people how they are, no matter how terrible it seems that what they're doing. And, oh my gosh, Ichinose is so well written for the little bit we get of that.
The moment as well when you're forced into the metaverse again by Emma. Emma just forces you in, and you look around and you're like, oh, this is depths.
Yeah, we're in Memento's depths again, boys. It's happening again.
I know that was a great that is like a thing that happened a couple times in this game, was me going, ah shit, here we go again, but in like the best way possible. I know people hate depths a lot and think it's one of the worst parts of P5's story, which You know, if you saw our palace ranking, you know we disagree with that. But also, if there's one thing I can praise Depths for, it is one of the most visually striking places in Persona 5. So to actually have that aesthetic come back, but built upon with like the look of like the roots and making it look even more jail-like, I love that.
Oh my gosh, it's big good. Also, there's the Sophia fight when you do get that reveal, which you could have guessed before based on her reaction with Sophia. But yeah, she made Sophia, and she's just like, hey, kill the thieves.
No, yeah, I that was one thing I did figure out was, I was like, okay, yeah, definitely made Sophia, that's all.
That scene, it's a short moment, but it...
the scene, like, with the flashback of Ichinose, where, like, it's, like, her and, like, the voice, like, her mind of, like, she's hearing, and just all the different people saying this stuff about her, while that song is playing.
Yeah.
I forget what that song is called, but goddamn that song.
It's crushing, because then right after you get the scene of her in her office, and like, talking to Sophia, and Sophia's like, hey, what's a heart? And she's basically just there, obviously not emotionless, because she's basically lying to herself about that, but just breaking down because the exact point she wanted the AI to answer for her, it
doesn't know.
Can't, yeah. And
as well as also, when Joker first finds Sophia and like puts his hand on the block and all that shit, and that text appears on screen saying, "What do you want me to become?" And then the same thing appears on Ichinose's computer screen when she's making Sophia.
Oh.
Yeah. Also, you kept saying this in DMs, and you were right.
Oh,
Sophia's humming is going to crush me.
I knew they were foreshadowing something with that humming. And when they revealed, don't you infinity frame me. But yeah, when
they walked out and started humming, I was like, fuck.
I was like, no!
God damn it.
Boy.
But yeah, that fight against Sophie where she hits Joker in the face, he starts bleeding, and she sees that and is like, no, I can't do this. You're my friend, and she just falls off seemingly on purpose. Yeah, like.
And then you run through the dungeon again.
And then you died.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, her awakening is sick.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say also Ichinose, the box art of No Man's Sky.
Wait, what? Oh yeah. You know, now that you mention it, did they ever explain what that thing was?
I believe it was. I think it was just something along the lines of it was just something.
It was a defense mechanism.
I think it was just something like Emma gave to Ichinose so she could be thieves. Yeah,
it was just like a weapon. Emma is weirdly compelling for Siri.
And yeah, Sophia, like you getting Sophia back and Sophia fighting against her programming and just refusing the command because now she has a heart and she can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Just what the fuck?
Man, I just because Sophia gets her persona, which is Pandora, which, you know,
symbolism.
You know, all the system of chaos and everything that came out of that AI, and she's the little glimmer of hope there. Ooh.
What's the name of fucking, I forget, what was her first, the air quotes, persona?
It's like Pythos? Let me look it up.
I really like
Pythos.
I do little thing like foreshadowing with this as well. The fact that all of her skills before she truly awakens have a question mark. Because it's not really a persona, it's her just being a Phantom Thief because that's what, you know, the thieves wanted her to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool, and then she actually does have a persona, which also that line, which, because I believe it's the same as P5 where Pandora and Valjean are both played by their characters' VAs of like whoever they're associated with.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the range on Sophie's VA between like the Pandora and the Sophie, and how well Sophie's able to do both like sort of airhead baby and that fucking just emotional, just gut-wrenching moment.
Powerful.
Super well done. And just that moment where she's like, I want a heart strong enough to fight back. and just you hear that screen cuts to black, and you just hear, "Can you wield that strength?"
It's
And the way
so good.
the way that scene's framed as well, with like her first persona like just spinning around her, and like every time like it flashes past the camera, it like zooms in on whoever the camera's already focused on. Like first the thieves, then it's on Ichinose, and then her mask shows up and it just says Pandora on it, and it shatters.
Oh my gosh. I will quickly note with her first not persona. So Pythos, I had looked this up before. Like, I didn't look up Pandora, but I did look up what Pythos was. Makes a lot more sense on retrospect. A Pythos is, you know, in ancient Greece, is a container. It's like a jar, but it's a container.
Yeah, it's about
like
right.
It's like a box. It's like Pandora's box.
Back up. If there's one thing, okay, I want your opinion. What do you think of Pandora? What do you think of like what Pandora's like just physical design? What do you think of that?
It's good. It could be better, but it's good.
I really like it. Out of every Phantom Thief, it is my least favorite persona.
It very much reminds me of, I don't know how much you remember this, but Maya's persona from Persona 2, where she's just kind of got like, instead of the visor that one has, it's just kind of a box. She's literally she's wearing a box.
Like, I think the concept of what Pandora looking like is of just like, yeah, her persona just opening up, and yeah, it's like Pandora's box opening. It's
really neat. I think the design would flow a lot better if what she was wearing underneath wasn't just kind of like underwear.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's like the only thing. Like, I get it's kind of like what presumably Sophie has under her sweater.
I don't want to know what's under her sweater. I don't want to know what's under her sweater.
Also, something I didn't notice until I was looking at the book. So in the digital art book, one of the things you can do with like you can look really closely at like all the characters' renders, and you can switch between. You can like take their mask off like for the art. Cause there's art of them without the mask and stuff. And with Sophie, there's two different versions of her art, one with and without the mask. But the one without the mask, you know, it's the twin tails and all that stuff. I do like how she actually changes to become a Phantom Thief. Her Phantom Thief attire, other than just the hood and the single ponytail, is she got gloves and rolled her socks up to be thigh highs instead of knee highs.
All right, that's powerful.
Yeah, that's her Phantom Thief attire. I love her.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, no, the actual Pandora's like mildly stupid looking, but still really cool.
Yeah, the Ichinose confrontation kills me. Similar to Konoe. Ooh, good. And then we get Siri. We get
and then we fight Robot God.
So, one thing I like, because a lot of people complain a lot about Persona where, you know, everything has been masterminded by some god who is just kind of screwing around. I will say I really like the change of pace where this kind of takes a page out of proper SMT, but in a much... I'm sorry, guys, in a much more unique way where...
Got him.
You know, most gods in Megaten as a whole are kind of that thing where when the people will their existence, they happen.
That's the other important thing about the gods I think is underrated in Persona, except Izanami. Fuck Izanami.
Yeah.
But is that a lot of times it's playing into like the fact that they were willed into existence, but also the fact that like I think something that a lot of people don't really understand about Yaldabaoth in particular is, yes, he specifically pitted Akechi and Ren against each other, but at the same time, it's not like they didn't have free will.
Yeah.
They still made those decisions. Yeah, sure, Akechi was put into this game, but he could have fought against the game. So I think that's important, but yeah, I'll continue.
But what I love about Emma as like the Demiurge is, which the Demiurge is basically just Yaldabaoth, but it's something that did genuinely come from them. Like, it was meant to be just an AI with the directive of, you know, I don't understand what the heart is, so let's just cut out the middleman. Let's question if hearts are even necessary. And by that metric, just get rid of desires. Getting this perfect AI to then systematically, like, get everyone to rely on it So, like, its plan is literally, I am going to become a god, so I need everyone to rely on me, so I can force the will of the masses to be with me, so then I can ascend to the status of a god. Is so creative, plays on the things we already know, and is just awesome. It is really menacing, because unlike Yaldabaoth, as far as we know, one, this person can make a, like, not a right argument, but in their perspective and how they put everything, a argument that people could genuinely consider. And beyond that, has, like, the analytical capabilities to just get everything.
Yeah, and as well as also, I love that her first form is the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
It's just the next step of the Holy Grail, which, you know, plays on the fact of this is quite literally the next coming of Yaldabaoth or the Demiurge. Same thing, but from a different source. It shouldn't be funny, but I do find it funny when Venza, when he talked to her about it, she's like, yeah, so, you know, I know you guys, you know, stopped it last time. Man, the wills did just kind of, the masses really didn't want to do anything anymore.
Again.
Gosh dang it, again!
Oh, the beautiful line from Miss Okumura. Do you think the gods hate us by now?
Oh, yeah! Because, what is this, their third go-around?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, boy.
They've been going through it.
I mean, I guess maybe they're fourth, if you count Q2. I don't think they remember that one, though.
No, they don't. Also, I do love them just, like... What's it called? Oh, what's the fucking thing called? Yeah, them being like, yeah, it seems like the real world's fused with Mementos again, and Zenkichi being like, wait, again, this happened before? What?
Oh my gosh. That final dungeon is really neat. It's shorter, but I thought it was really cool going through it.
It's short, but it's very effective.
I love the moment of Ichinose and Futaba teaming up, and Ichinose finally kind of, like, redeeming herself. It was real good.
Yeah. The actual, like, the dialogue in that final calling card is really cool.
Yeah. There isn't a ton to say about the dungeon itself, in my opinion.
Yeah. The final room before you get to the Ark is really cool.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say with oh yeah, with like your first confrontation where, you know, you kind of get like, you kind of lose and get trapped in like the void or whatever.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the freaking mist hallway where I DM'd it to you. You got pissed at me.
Yeah,
it opens like the scene in the Pyra and Mithra Smash trailer, where it just has Rex running onto Final Destination somehow. It looked exactly like it. You can't deny me.
It looks just like FD when you first
cannot
see it.
tell me Joker didn't just get put on random for stage selection when Demiurge did this.
And what if instead it, like, you know, Demiurge just threw him on
small battlefield?
No, hand and bow.
Oh, that works too.
No, big battlefield. It's a big...
Are you sure it wasn't just Magicant?
One thing I was kind of thinking they might do, which they didn't, and I get why they didn't, because it is well established that the thieves you can't like take their desires or whatever with the thieves. I was partly expecting though, and I think it would have been cool, because I like the whole idea of, like, you know, in the top right, the task is obey, and, you know, the obey is just to keep walking and getting lost in a loop. And what you actually have to do is push against the invisible wall, which is really cool.
I like
but
that this big rumbling.
One thing I thought they might do
is have a bad ending.
No, I thought what might happen was you were going to have to fight against your trauma. I thought, like, Ren was going to wake up and Shido was going to be there.
That would have been cool.
I get why they didn't, partly because, you know, you don't need another fight or whatever would have happened there. 2, presumably that doesn't work on the thieves. And 3, Royal.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's fine. I don't hate it. It's still really cool, but that's what I thought was going to happen.
That's fair.
And you're like, wait, what if we do a calling card?
Big nice. And then you get to the Demiurge fight, which is the coolest fight in the freaking game.
That like my favorite fight is still Shadow Joker, but
you're wrong.
When you go, I do love when you go up to the door to the elevator. Morgana warns you, like, everyone, not just the people on the front line, everyone needs to be ready. And I'm like, what the fuck is going to happen?
I will say, if you actually like look at the arena, this fight feels just like if you were to take the Yaodabaoth fight from P5 and put it in a 3D space. Except they actually give every thief a purpose, and I adore that, because you can organize it however you want.
Well, because a few things. One thing I loved about the way it was set up as well, is like, so you have all of, I will say, with the Demiurge fight, I felt the first phase was a bit slow.
It was fine.
It was
I got through it quick.
It was good, but a bit slow. I mean, it was just kind of slow of like, yeah, you got to keep running, wait for the Demiurge to get to the platform you're standing on.
I mean, you could have just stayed on the platform.
Oh, does the platform nuke not? Can you just dodge it?
I mean, yeah, basically.
Cool.
Because they don't start doing the laser thing until the second phase.
No, I'm pretty sure the screen nuke still happens on the first phase.
Oh, I never had it happen in the first phase. I just kind of beat her up.
So yeah, there's that. And then the second phase, though, when they're like, okay, those orbs keep healing it, what we have to do is everyone has to split up and fight the orbs. And then the game just opens the select screen, and you have your teams that you have to set up. The only one that's predetermined is Joker has to be the one fighting Demiurge, because obviously. But other than that, you can set it up however you want, as long as all 10 of them are or 9 are active.
Yeah, it is freaking awesome. With that song playing, because, oh my gosh, Demiurge Part 2 is so good.
Demiurge Part 2 is one of the best songs in the game. I don't know how you set up your teams. My team 1 was Makoto and Team 2 was just Ryuji and Morgana, and then the ones fighting Demiurge were Ren, Zenkichi, Sophie, and of course, the God Slayer Haru Okumura.
Awesome. I find it funny, the first team I had was, what was it? It was Makoto, let me think.
Make Ryuji solo one of them.
Crap, who was it? Okay, I'll name the second team and then I'll remember the others. So the second team was Yusuke, Haru, and Morgana, who freaking wiped the floor. They obliterated everyone, and I was like, okay, well, this maybe could have solved the issue with the first team, because the first team was Zenkichi, who was fine, but he couldn't really hit weaknesses.
Yeah, that's the issue. That's why, like, I knew, I was like, okay, I have to have one.
Yeah, it was Zenkichi, Makoto, and who's the odd man out here?
Woogie.
Yeah, no. There was another one. There's no. We're gonna get this on. Okay, it was
on. Yep, there you go.
And they were doing their thing. And it took a lot longer than it did for the second orb group. And then for the main group, I had Joker, Woogie, and Sophia.
Yep. But the only thing I knew I had to do, I was like, okay, I need a team, and luckily the game gives you 3 healers.
Yep. It's almost like it's perfectly balanced, like all things should be.
And then you do an all-out attack.
Oh!
Yeah.
Man,
that just you are stronger playing over that.
First of all, it's a perfect callback to the other one at the start of the game, and just furthering that idea. But now you have the full gang, because Sophia missed out on that moment before, but now she has a persona and she's properly a Phantom Thief. And she's sitting there like swinging her yo-yos, and Zenkichi shoots the invisible face in the face and breaks Siri. And Joker stabs, like, you know, Joker shooting Yaodabaoth in the face is still sick. It was one of my favorite moments in, like, anything, if not my favorite moment.
And checkmate.
And checkmate, yeah. You know, Joker leaping up and stabbing the Demiurge in the heart. Not far off.
It is so cool. Every character, just every single one was so bad.
It's really good. I will say I do appreciate that in this game, they acknowledge that this is the first time that Ann's gun is not only useful but broken, and so she just uses her AK-47 to
it's definitely
assault
not.
this thing.
It's definitely like a submachine gun.
AK-47.
No, yeah, it's so cool and just like, ooh. And I do just love it. It just instantly drops into just the chorus of "You Are Stronger."
It is extremely... It's also the final chorus, which is something that I know by heart.
Yeah.
So it just has that little up... it's just better.
Like the slightly higher octave that she's singing at.
Mm-hmm.
And also the fucking... That final scene where like all the desires are flying, like kind of returning to everybody just against the fucking gorgeous sunset. Ryuji walking over and patting you on the shoulder because he's your boy.
The dude. And we've been talking for almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
How? This is a lot.
Then you go home and see Sojiro.
Yeah. I want to note.
Sorry, I have to mention this because like it made my heart go when I first heard it. Whenever the game's still trying to convince you that it's open, you go to the fireworks festival, which is just lovely. But then you get to kind of talk to everybody at the end. Beneath the Mask plays for the first time in the game. Just at night with you talking to everybody, which just hit. And also every character that you did like their side quest for gives you a pretty good trinket.
Which then gets even further followed up on, which is why you should do all the frickin' friend requests.
Yep.
Because when you get to the credits, they've got photos of all the stuff you did with your friends. And ooh, it made me cry.
It's so good.
Actually, okay, you know what I find interesting? The moment it went from misty eyes for me to actually crying in the credits, very strangely enough, was Zenkichi smirking when Iwata got arrested.
Yeah.
It was just like that full moment of like, he finally had that achievement there. He finally got rid of the guy who, killed his wife. And he kept the promise with Akane.
Yeah.
And also then transitioning to the group who... Oh my gosh, that shot of them going their separate ways. Oh.
Yeah. It's so cool. And just like, them basically just being like, until next. Like...
Man, give me a sequel.
Yeah. They will be back.
Not
to mention... Oh, fucking that one. The little celebration they have back in LeBlanc attic of them just... Alright, no, we need to bring the mood back. Don't bring all this downer shit up. Alright, Yusuke, soda chugging contest right now. And Yusuke just like, you idiot.
Both of them die.
Do you seriously think you can chug more soda than me?
I adore these characters. I'm telling you, like, and I know you relate with me wholeheartedly.
Yep.
Even someone who didn't, like... follow P4 when it was ongoing and isn't as invested in that.
I was towards the tail end, but yeah.
That's the thing. Seeing that scene, like the animation they made of farewell to the P4 cast, still genuinely makes me cry. Whenever they do that with the P5 cast, I think I'm going to bawl.
I don't cry at many things. The ending of this game did not make me physically cry. I felt it. If they make that for the P5 for the Phantom Thieves, I might physically cry.
That will shatter me. And I'm not saying this in the sense of the Phantom Thieves need to continue in the Persona series forever, never get rid of them.
One day they will leave, and it will be for the best. The Phantom Thieves should not be the character 6.
Yeah, the series has to move forward.
But I also never want to see them go.
Yeah, these characters have the most special place in my heart of any cast.
And man, also fucking Sophie going with Ichinose.
Oh, it's such a good payoff. The freaking scene of them like laughing together at the very end of the credits with the little fin.
Yeah, the way Futaba, she keeps trying to say like, yeah, she found a way to get Sophie out of Joker's phone. But her just starts crying and is just like, I found a way to do it, but I didn't think it'd be a goodbye present.
No.
And
it hurts.
And I also love Sojiro, just like, the attic's always yours. And
this, I feel like to wrap things up, this game is the ultimate celebration of what makes P5 so beloved, encapsulating that, giving us a very faithful but still unique and interesting story, giving us a good commentary on a lot of the stuff in P5. This narrative is the perfect sequel to Persona 5.
I said this on Twitter.
Up there with Third Semester. Because that I technically count that as well, but man.
I said this on Twitter, and I will say it again. Persona 5 Strikers deserves to be considered the 7th mainline Persona.
100%.
If Eternal Punishment counts, then so should this. Because I know, like, whenever I brought that up on Twitter, some people were saying, like, well, in that case, Arena should. And I'm like, the difference is, Arena, even if that is still a sequel to Persona 4, it still feels like, it still has a spin-off feel to its story, the way everything kind of works, the way that plot's told. Everything about it very much feels spin-off. Strikers doesn't. The only thing that makes Strikers feel like a spin-off is just that it's not turn-based. If it was turn-based, it would just be Persona 5 2.
That's the thing. It is the way the narrative is structured, how it handles the themes, and directly comments on the things before it. It is a textbook sequel.
Yeah.
And it is freaking great.
This is,
oh gosh,
as far as I'm concerned, the 7th mainline Persona game.
100%.
I will fight on this.
Let's make it the 8th as well.
Woo!
Yeah, but so, oh my gosh.
Also, credits theme.
Oh my gosh, I have to listen to it right after we finish calling.
It's so good, as well as, if you didn't know, there is an English and a Japanese version. There are 2 different versions. Lynn sings both of them. And I don't think any other Persona game's done that. So
not really, no.
That's really cool. Listen to both. Unlike something like, other games that have like English, Japanese like themes to them, like say a lot of Nintendo games do that with like Jump Up Superstar, Edge of Dawn, Lifelight, stuff like that.
Yeah,
where,
both of them sound completely natural here.
Well, yeah, every once in a while you get the one that like you can kind of tell it was English translated lyric, even if the English translated lyrics are still really well done. But you're also you also do kind of have to pick which one you like more because it's 2 different singers. You don't have to do that here because they're both Lynn.
Yeah, the only series that really pulls this off in the same way is like Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
Yeah, because like Edge of Dawn works really well in both languages.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, it's not as serious of a song, but Jump Up Superstar, in my opinion, sounds in English.
That is, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but this credit theme is it hits real good.
I just straight up 10 out of 10 video game.
Yeah, I actually want your quick thoughts before we give our just final thoughts. Like just full wrap up. Because I saw you tweeted about this where you were like, yeah, so you like this less than Royal, but more than Vanilla P5. And I was kind of thinking about that. It is so close for me, because both these games are like games that I do see like basic flaws in them. I would honestly say P5 has more flaws than this game, like Vanilla P5, but its peaks are a bit higher. But this game is a lot more consistent. So P5 has that personal edge in my heart. But I think, again, Royal blows this out of the park. I'm just getting that out there. But this game is on par, if not a bit better than Vanilla P5.
Because for me, at least, like, one, if Royal didn't exist, Strikers would be my favorite video game made.
Yeah.
And because like Royal just managed, because Royal doesn't beat Strikers just because of Third Semester. It beats Strikers because of everything
all
else
the quality of life, all the
everything it changes, the way it tweaks little bits of the plot in minor ways, but that still make a huge difference. All that kind of stuff. We joked about it, but we were also 100% serious in our Game of the Year discussion on my channel. Please watch that. Where at the end we just joked and said, like, join us back here next year when Persona 5 Strikers is our Game of the Year.
It's a contender.
It's
a strong contender.
I don't know what's gonna beat it. Fucking Brilliant Diamond? Nah, fuck that. Like, and I will probably like Brilliant Diamond, but it's not gonna beat this.
We're getting Persona 5 Strikers 2 later this year. What are you gonna do then, kid?
I will say, after this game's massive success and just the general massive success of Persona 5, if Strikers 2, if it happens, if it's not a fucking worldwide release, so help me God, Atlus.
I mean, the irony is that we know if they ever do a sequel to this game, it's going to be, you know, a world adventure. So if they don't honor that with a worldwide release, it'll be really ironic.
I'm going to kill someone.
I don't think you should do that.
I'll do it. But 10 out of 10 video game.
Yep, 10 out of 10. Fantastic. Ooh.
Because I think Persona 5 Vanilla, 9.5 out of 10 for me. Persona 5 Strikers, 10 out of 10. Persona 5 Royal,
11.
Unironically, 11 out of 10. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Any final miscellaneous notes, whether it's funny jokes throughout the game or just things you want to mention?
Fantastic gameplay. Story's great. Super consistent. And the one final thing I want to leave on, Haru Kumura's freaking great!
That is something I want to say. Haru is incredible. I want to let this sink in. Haru's arc in this game, I liked it more than the on arc of the game. I want you all to let that sink in.
That is an accomplishment for you.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I adore On's arc so much in this game. But Haru's arc hit just a bit too hard where I was like, yeah, this is the best thing. Or one of the best things in the game. It was the best thing in the game until I kept playing. Anyway, do a funny joke to end the video. Right now. Say something funny, Ryuji.